Hey everybody, welcome to Dialog Choices podcast. That's what I say every episode. If I just went on, I should have just like a 30-second tirade at the beginning of every episode. That's just the same words in the same tone, so people will genuinely not know for like long enough that a view counts that whether or not they've seen this episode before. They have to like sit through it for like a solid minute, and then at that point it's too late. It counts as a view now. They can't take it back.
They can skip to the bit a little bit to the front.
Like my opening intro becomes so tired that it becomes like an ad you skip, but it's an ad for nothing.
I do that with certain channels. I skip the first bit, especially if it's got like, this is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club.
Oh man, I'm so
something.
happy that when somebody's ad read either has the time codes in the description so you can just skip it,
so
or
good.
when they have like
Yes.
a really obvious like white background for the entire ad read. And then like you can just like preview mouse over it and skip to the part where it doesesn't look like that anymore. Some people have like 2-minute ad reads and 15-minute videos. And like, Jesus fucking Christ, guys.
Yeah, there's a I think my favorite feature is, which is weird, if you search for videos on Bing rather than Google and you watch a YouTube video from within their like little web interface, it will give you a button to skip intros of videos. So if you like
Netflix?
if like Netflix, if they have an intro for their video, it will automatically detect like, oh, it's playing loud music for this amount of time, and then it goes to here.
What is this, a video editing tutorial?
Yeah, and so it's crazy. I've noticed this so many times because I've been watching a lot of 3D printer repair stuff, and all of them have these like obnoxious, dumb, stupid. This is welcome to the best.
They all paid the
knowledge.
same guy to do like a 3D animated text block over metal.
They're all garbage.
I'm so fucking tired of it.
But
every time I try to Google, like, what the fuck? This thing disappeared in Vegas. It's just gone. I don't know how I did that. What do I do to bring it back? Or like, I accidentally like pressed a thing, and now I'm in a mode, and I don't know what this mode is, and I don't know how to leave it. Yeah. And then I'll be like,
Hey guys, how you doing? This is my and then they record it
intro to the thing. Then I'm gonna explain it for way
and then they only record it on the left.
Yeah, they'll be only in
so
one ear, and the audio is horrible, and they talk for so long before getting to the thing. But then you skip like halfway into the video, and you're like, okay, this is too far, and you're like, it literally would have been more time effective just to wait through the video. But that feels like I'm losing. Like I have to win against this video's 3-minute intro where he's not saying anything. What are you doing? I know what Vegas is. That's why I'm here.
One thing I found useful is putting it in normal speed. No, don't use double speed, but turn on the closed captions and just click the right arrow and skip like 20 seconds at a time. And then you read you skim read the closed captions.
God, what YouTube needs is the function to like search through the closed captions of your own channel, like channel wide.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I know you're making them. Let me browse them, because like then I could find the moment where the thing happened I remembered once. Like I vaguely remember shit and I want to find it for like a highlight or something, but I'm like, I don't fucking know. That's from a play. If I'm even right about which playthrough it was, it's a playthrough with 80 episodes. Like, please help me.
You could make a script to farm off all of the closed captions, because we have access to the closed captions in our studio. So you could make a JavaScript thing that just goes over through all of your videos over like a night or something, and copies all the closed captions with all the metadata, and then you'd have the data on your side.
That sounds awful. Then, like, how are you going to parse through all that information? No, you're just going to break it up.
Oh no, that's the easy part. That's the easy part.
Would you have it break it up into files based on video?
Yeah, you'd have to.
Oh, you just reminded me that like you just reminded me, I had like a big data-oriented project I was working on, and then starting a video essay channel just made me forget about it instantly because it was more gratifying and less tedious. But like,
did you forget about the big project, Keith?
Yeah, I did. I was making a website. I already paid for like 2 years of like hosting. I was making a website I made a website for the purpose of like eventually just all sorts of things, like here's my fan art on this page and here's like my video essays on this page. But like the big project was to create a sequence of like embedded links for every single Let's Play or every single game I've ever covered on like my channel, and like the me days of sad games and so on. And like then put that all into a searchable database so that people could find things, and that'd be tags. This is like the big request people have. Is like, I want to find all the playthroughs with Stephanie, or I want to find games that are like Myst or whatever. And I was like, all right, here we go. And I was like, first step is to try to make the most comprehensive list of tags you can think of like, okay, here's the I was even like, what country was the game from, to try to like include like oh wow, you want to check out all the games from the Netherlands I've played so far or whatever, like all the Norse mythology games, like that would be fun. But you have to like, if you're gonna tag things, you have to come up with your entire list of tags in advance, because then you have to tag the games as you go. Otherwise you'd have to like constantly go back, and they'd be incomplete and incomprehensive and stuff. But like, I had my series of tags, and I did like 3 games on my website as like a test, just to see if it would work, and if like the search, if like clicking the check marks of what filters you wanted worked, and so on. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to gather the data of what every single game is I've ever covered on both channels, and I was trying to do them in chronological order, and I fell off that after a couple of days, and it's been a few months now.
I thought it seemed pretty ambitious. Like looking at it,
it's like people really underestimate how much fucking work it would be to do that. Because it's like often constantly requested thing is like, where can I have a list of all the things? And it's like like my front page of YouTube for a very long time has been like a series of playlist categories where I try to categorize every playthrough, but inevitably it's like, here's the other tab, because you can only have like 5, and that's not enough categories. And then people being like, where's a place where I can find a list of every playthrough with this person? And I'm like, that's fucking make it. How would that exist? There's no tools for that. I can't do this.
It honestly is kind of impressive how lacking the customization options are in modern internet. Like I guess I imagine there's
at some point the answer is just to have an obsessively large audience that has a certain number of very obsessive people that will just like do that for fun.
Well, yeah, but I meant like more in the sense of like, you think of like beginning, the entry level social media stuff was really highly customizable, and then as it progressively gets to like, now we're in the era of like Facebook and Twitter, where you have like the only customization is like, what do you want your like user profile picture to be? And you're like, wow, this is kind of garbage. Like, this is how do we get here? How do we devolve into this like homogenized liquid form of social media?
I mean, YouTube mostly removes features.
Yeah, YouTube's like, okay, do you want it in white or black? But you don't get to control that. Your audience controls that. But also, like, but those are your only 2 options. You can also add some like thumbnails to your videos. You don't have to, but you can. And that's about all you get in customize. You get the same thing. You get basically the same features as Twitter.
Hey guys, remember when we had shows with seasons and they're gone?
No, too much customization. We got to draw it
if
back,
I remember correctly, you used to be able to subscribe to shows.
Yes, you used to be able to specifically subscribe to shows only, so that way someone on someone's channel, like Rooster Teeth, could have like 7 shows, and you say like, look, I'm going to be honest with you, Red vs. Blue is the only good thing you've ever made. I'm going to ignore the rest of these. Subscribe to Red vs. Blue. And then you can like ignore the whatever that Sims video was that they did for a while and other stuff like that.
Oh, Strangerhood was fine. Or at least it was back then. Sure, I don't know if it's good now. I don't know if Red vs. Blue is good now.
I'm glad somebody watched it, but I didn't. And but the point is like, you could subscribe to just that show that you wanted to watch, which is great, because that's how like you would think the future would work. Like, oh cool, I only want to watch like Keith. I only want to watch when Keith plays RPGs. Can I like subscribe to his RPG only category? No. You have to get all of the videos, and you're like,
there is like a certain customization I would always want, where like if things were parts of shows, it'd be cool if you could be like, I'm going to subscribe to this particular channel, and then you could like selectively unsubscribe from individual shows when they like start also doing something. Then you're like,
yeah, that probably would work better for creators that way, like a blacklist instead of a whitelist.
Granted, a lot of stuff that I don't like is the stuff that people do to keep their channel like alive. Like was it like Team 4-Star would be like, here's our big abridged videos, but also we want to have we want to become a Rooster Teeth style like big content like churner, so here's our podcast and here's our other things. And it's like, yeah, I don't really want those though. And then if you watch something like
he says recording his podcast.
Oh yeah, I know, I get it. Like I get it.
Well, yeah.
Also, I'm also not a channel that's like, here's my one big impactful thing every month, and then like
That's
10
true.
videos between each one. It's all trash, baby. But or like you subscribe to like an animator or something like Fox in Space or like Has Been Hotel or whatever the other stuff on that channel is, or like a bunch of other ones where there's like the show they make, and then there's like dozens of like behind the scenes videos and like streams of them animating, and then like just so many uploads that like come up and clog up your feed, and you're like, I just want to watch the thing, honestly. The thing you make. And it can be like, this is why second channels were invented. But of course, like, it's because they're not doing it on a second channel because YouTube incentivizes you putting out more and more content. Like, I'm literally saying this while thinking about the idea that, like, hi, I'm working on this really, really big project in the background, but what if I made shorter things real quick, like a review of this movie or something, to like keep the channel going, like different tiers of activity. Like, even I'm like thinking in those terms while also being like sick of certain versions of that idea. But yeah, because YouTube incentivizes having a lot of content all the time, and if you can't do that, then you're kind of in trubs.
Yeah. I think even like I think the way we manage, maybe Andrew, you've been streaming more the stuff you publish on your channel, right?
Sometimes I've just been like really bad about making any content lately, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Andrew's done anything for like a month.
Yeah, I mostly try.
Yeah, I haven't seen your videos.
Unless I'm doing something where I literally do not want other people getting close to me, like Subnautica, or like the entire experience is better done alone. But if it's something garbage like Cyberpunk or like stuff like that, or if it's a game that I think doesn't really matter, it like Hades doesn't really get worse with people interacting with you. It's more of just like, here, you want to watch me run a really shitty run? Let's see if it works. Like, it's fine. People can be like, no, that's a bad pick. Oh, well, you're here to watch me make mistakes. Like, that's different than like, say, certain games that require a lot more personal views of it. And so like, yeah, if it's something that it doesn't matter, then I'll just stream it and then edit it later. I've been trying to like stream and then record at the same time, since I can technically do both. So yeah,
because what I was gonna say is that the way we publish videos is a little bit of an artifact of YouTube requiring, which still exists, but YouTube requires consistency to promote your videos to your viewers, and not just to promote your videos to your viewers, but also because viewers will sort of naturally, like, if you don't publish a video for a week or maybe a month, it depends on the viewer, but if you don't publish a video for a little while, people will just forget about that you have videos, and like maybe in a year they'll be like, I remember that guy, let's check him out. But
there's also the aspect of like the algorithm will just forget about you. Like, it'll just be like,
but it's two things.
They haven't watched any of your videos recently, so they don't, they must not care about you.
Yeah. But that's like, what I'm saying is those two things are the reason why we publish Let's Plays in such a weird way. Because at the end of the day, it is sort of weird to play a game half an hour for a day. Like, especially new releases, or it depends on the games, obviously. But it's a very drawn out and very weird way to publish a video. And obviously there's
slow.
Let's Play channels that don't.
Like, you could always do the co-carnage thing where you just play one game and you upload like 10 videos a day of that one game, which like I guess works for him, but like almost nobody actually consumes YouTube videos that way. So I question the approach. Like, I don't necessarily base mine on like what's algorithmically good or whatever for that specific element of the show. It's just like an element of like, well, I got to put these videos out at a pace where people can consume them if they're my current subscribers. And if you like, I learned really early on in 2014 when I was doing Dragon Age Inquisition, and I was only playing like a couple games at a time, And I would be like, all right, here's here. I was still doing like 30-minute videos, but like more of them. So I'd be like, oh, here's 2 or 3 Dragon Age videos the same day, whatever. And I just like record them and render them and upload them and then go to work or something. Is like my year off between graduating college and getting my first real job after college, basically. So I was just kind of like, I was just working at a shop basically when I would get there. And you could just obviously see it's like, oh, I would upload 2 or 3 videos and the most recent one would get way more views than the other 1 or 2 that were uploaded the same day. People just skip them. Like, no, people don't have time to watch like several 30-minute videos in the same series per day. So it makes way more sense to make multiple parallel shows and slowly pace them out. Even if you ended up like recording them way in advance. Like in this case, what our Zero Time Dilemma show's just starting to air and like we're done with it. And like, honestly, it's a pretty good way to do a playthrough. If you record it really quickly, yeah, there's no audience feedback, so they might complain about the one thing you're missing for like 30 episodes straight about like, the papers aren't in the statue, they took them out. But like your memory and your skill with the game and all that will be freshest if you like binge through it quickly, but then pace it out slowly because that's like how people actually watch videos.
I think for me, one of the decisions that I made pretty early on, and maybe even before I started doing videos, was that what I wanted was to finish games.
Yeah.
You know, instead of focusing on just like new, like 1-2 episodes of new indie games and all whatnot. I wanted to finish games and I wanted to have complete Let's Plays. And what I realized soon is that basically every video I make is made for people who are going to watch those videos. You know, the vast majority of people who watch my videos are watching them maybe not necessarily years, but many of them years after.
Yeah.
And so I'm like all the content. Yeah, it's sort of a. That's like why I'm saying it is a little bit of an artifact.
Content libraries.
Yeah.
And then we Dr. Manhattan it. We get due to the comments section commenting on all of our videos at once. We get to relive every moment of the last 10 years of our life simultaneously. They're all happening now to someone. It's really fucking weird. But yeah, like if you I'll bring up my analytics real quick because this is a point that always comes up a bit. Is like if you look at my channel, I uploaded 3 videos yesterday, and it looks like they collectively got like 2,000 views or something. Meanwhile, if I go to my analytics and highlight yesterday, which was what's the 4th, I got 33,800 views. Like my current subscribers clicking 5% is so 7%. Little of the actual content. So that's part of why I don't care that much about the live feedback element, because like the vast majority of feedback I'm gonna get every video is gonna be this long tail of people like shouting at me for years about the mistakes I made. Specific videos are giant lightning rods, and I'm constantly tempted to just fucking mute that entire comment section because I'm tired of hearing the same comment forever. You misgendered the fucking Monster Hunter monster. How dare you? They're all fucking... Every monster has both genders, except these 2. These specific... they're gendered, and that means you have to know that somehow. It's the girl one. I'm gonna leave a comment and not pay attention to the fact that it's an ocean of 50,000 comments all saying the same thing, which, to be fair, I have looked at the mobile experience of YouTube every now and then, and the comment section, like, doesn't exist. You get
it's one comment.
And it shows you one highly rated comment and then a bunch of like suggested videos and ads, and then you have to like click that one comment to get exploded in your face the billions of other comments that are there. So that might be part of the problem. But boy, you get the same comment hundreds of times on the same video eventually, and they'll just never stop. That's the Dr. Manhattan experience. It's always your failures. It's never been like, wow, you did a good job. I'm going to leave a redundant comment about how you did a good job.
It's YouTube working like it does. For me, I don't get many more than 10 or 15 comments a day, so I can keep up. But for bigger channels, working like you're describing it's just, it makes the comment section
hostile.
Or yeah, I don't know why they have it like that. They should have a completely different system, like where you can search like word clouds or something like that allows you to get at a glance feedback of comments for certain videos. And it's just, I mean, it's not difficult to go to see the comments in a certain video. You can just open the video, but in our studio control panel thing, it's not difficult because there's a button for it. But it just shows you the comments by like date or whatever, or by publishing date, and it's just
chronological
so
is just currently the easiest way to see all the comments in your channel and actually keep up with them in order of publication and all that.
Oh, not even
because
not even getting into that.
Because otherwise you'd have to like open every individual video, but you're only getting a snapshot of the current comments that are there so far. So like you can even keeping up with like your current videos. If you're somebody like us that uploads like a bunch of videos and all that, like when do you check the video? How often do you check the same video? It's like I'd have to like open like 6 tabs to check the comments and then come back and check them again like a day later to see how many more people commented on them, and sort them by new and so on. And it'd be like this huge pain in the ass.
Yeah. YouTube just doesn't have, like, this week I don't know if you guys got the same thing, but I got a little pop-up in my control panel telling me if I wanted to participate in the betterment of the control tools that we have.
I don't know if I'll respond.
It was like a 40-minute long. It was a 40-minute long quiz.
Oh God.
About what platforms we use and what we do it for, what we associate with them, and all that, and most of it was just self-congratulatory things for YouTube, being like, how do you feel about YouTube's transparency? How do you feel about YouTube's goals align with yours? Or how do you feel that it fosters a community, allows you to share with friends, allows you to make money? All those things that are just like, yeah, either you like it or you don't. But for me, like, it just felt like YouTube is just going through the motions, and it does not care whatsoever about what we. I know we've talked about this before in the podcast, but it's just there's no tools for the stuff that we want. It's like nobody working at YouTube.
It's like when the new dashboard was coming out, and like every single day it would load me into the new dashboard, and I would click the button to go back to the old dashboard, and every day I would leave the same review in the field explaining the fact that the new dashboard has less functionality and runs worse. Like every time you click on anything, you just wait for a while, and like there's animations playing and shit. It's like, what the old one works fine. The new one has less information and looks worse, and it's harder to like the dashboard's really ugly right now. But also like several features were just missing, and I'll never get over like we talked about this in the fucking YouTube Broken episode or whatever that was like early in this series, but like it really stands out to me that like in the previous version of YouTube, which they were already in a situation where like whenever you opened a playlist, if you press the buttons to like customize the features of your playlist or change something about your playlist, it then loaded an even older version of YouTube that had those features because they never added them to that version of YouTube. And then that version of YouTube was then replaced by this version of YouTube where they just continued to not update any of those playlist features. So like a bunch of them just don't work now, and a lot of them are just gone. A lot of the stuff you used to be able to do with playlists just disappeared instead of getting added to the new dashboard. That's the level we're on. That's what all the money is worth, apparently. It's so bizarre. I don't understand how large companies work. Well, sounds soul draining.
You do understand though, because their profit or the money that they get doesn't come from us having tools to work. If anything, they may even get more money from us having tools to work.
Well, yeah, it's the whole fucking redesign is usually just. It seems like it'd probably just be some guy that's like mid-tier, higher up in a company, just wanting to piss on the trees.
And
being like, look what I did. I'm the one that did the big redesign. Fucking I'm next CEO, please. Like it's all political and not because it helps the website in any way. It's not like they're like, oh, fucking HTML7 or whatever the fuck's happening now. We got to update the website to the new standard. It's like, no, I'm just going to redesign the website for no reason, mostly. And it's going to basically be the same thing, but slightly worse. And it's going to be really frustrating. And we're not going to get around to doing half the things, which also happened last time. I did want to see the chain keep happening, though. I wanted to see them still load an old version of YouTube in order to gain access to certain playlist editing features, until the point where you had to click through each version of YouTube one by one till you were going like back 4 generations. It'd be like loading into the original Xbox on the Xbox One X, Series XXX to get to like access a specific feature, and it'd be so fucking hysterical.
Speaking of the Xbox, this conversation actually reminded me. I saw a thread on Twitter a couple of days ago about XNA. I don't know if you know what XNA is.
I had an XNA membership for a year.
So XNA was this really good.
Yeah.
Sorry, you probably have a better explanation.
Well, it was XNA was the self-publishing process for making Xbox Live indie games, which is what Andrew and I covered at the beginning. Like that's our starting thing was that we covered Xbox Live indie games, like their demos, and part of it was hysterical because you'd play a game for 30 seconds and then they'd be like, demo over, and it's like they're terrified you'd see too much if they let you go any further. Yeah. But it was like $100 a year, I think. And it was you needed a membership in order to publish stuff, but also all of the people that had memberships all collectively reviewed each other's stuff. So Microsoft didn't really have to deal with it directly, and all the XNA people would review each other's stuff, and you needed like X number of people to sign off on your game for it to get published as being like I guess just like working and not being full of like objectionable content. So it was like a self-moderating community that could publish games directly to the Microsoft store before Steam ever had this even. And you could just put your indie game out.
They were years ahead of the competition.
Oh yeah.
And Live Indie Games was like an impressive design decision.
And not just...
Yeah, and cool shit happened, like
they just like
Studios
threw it away.
So that's the thread that I was reading this week. And it wasn't just the console platform that they had, which they did, and was the vast majority of the success of the XNA project. It was also the work. What's the word? So the underlying technology that developers would use to make games, because it was easy. It made making games easier. The XNA project. There are terms that I could be saying and that I don't remember, so I can't say them because I don't remember. But basically, games like Underrail, like Celeste, like Terraria, they use the XNA sort of code base the developers used the XNA code base as a sort of a platform to build their games. And there's obviously all the other smaller games that never had the success that Terraria had or Celeste, but still XNA was crucial for the development of those games. So the thread that I was reading was somebody wondering about why Microsoft just canceled it, because I think they started XNA in 2000. No, that's not. Well, maybe money, but that's why it kind of ties into the conversation we're having. So I thought it was somebody completely unrelated to Microsoft wondering about that and saying that they canned it in 2008 or 2009, and they started it in 2004. So it didn't last very long. And somebody replied to that Twitter thread, tagging somebody that apparently worked at Microsoft, and they said that basically it was a project that never really saw the approval of the higher ups, never got an evangelist in the higher ups of Microsoft, and so it was the engineers pushing it through. And then what happened is that it was subject to the whims of somebody trying to sabotage it for personal gain inside the company. And so one of the things that they pointed out was that somebody wanted the XNA games to be compatible with Windows Mobile, and that killed it because they diverted resources towards there, and then they couldn't do anything with it.
It was a thing that was basically just existing because it wasn't being paid attention to that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how a lot of Google apps existed too. A lot of Google apps were just like weird little side hobbies that people did, and Google's like,
the Stadia.
What if we gave that to other people? And then that's how you get shit like LiveJournal existed, and then it just stopped existing after Google's like, wait a second, this isn't very profitable. Like you just move on.
But at least the weird event where like these like super companies weirdly like put a weird amount of effort into something that seemed a little like a weird thing to invest in, and then they just like the moment it's done forget it existed and never support it in some cases, and you're just like why. Because it's easy to think of them as like a
bad case of this. This is like Microsoft's entire MO is like picking up stuff. It basically is like they have ADD, but they just pick up something, look at it for a while, and then put it down and forget it just ever existed. And they'll never go back to it unless someone like begs and pleads, and they go like, "Oh yeah, we did this." Okay,
wasn't the Stadia, like, the Google Stadia, just like, we'll just make this, right? And then people just like put games on it. It'll just happen, and like. And then they just like stopped supporting it basically or something. Like I basically stopped
supporting it the moment they launched it.
Yeah, basically it launched, and the initial launch had basically so far like so little like subscription, it just couldn't keep itself afloat. And it was like, all right, well, I guess this is a commercial failure. It's out.
Yeah,
like, this
it hasn't
is the same
been
thing.
2 years. It hasn't been 2 years, by the way.
I only knew one game that was on it. Like I just knew that Orcs Must Die 3 was exclusive to it. I'm like, well, that's annoying. I want Orcs Must Die 3, and now it's on Steam.
And
so story over.
They had a thing. They had a deal going on where I think if you paid the cost of buying the controller, or not was it the controller?
If you
I think
bought
it was like
the controller, you got like a year of premium membership.
Yeah, or something like that.
But I don't know how long it lasted, that deal.
There was some kind of deal, and I remember I got it during that deal because it was like nothing. It was like basically, I think it was like So yeah, it was like you pay for the cost of the controller, and they'll give you a Chromecast Ultra with it, so that way you can play the games on it. And Chromecast Ultra normally runs for like $60 or $70. And I was like, oh well, I want that because it's a Chromecast that has an Ethernet adapter to it, so you don't have to. You don't have to like wirelessly stream stuff to it. And I was like, that's what, because obviously you can't wirelessly stream games in HD because unless you have like hyperspeed internet, unless you have a really good like Wi-Fi network, which the average home does not, it's easier to just give it an Ethernet port. But okay, cool. If you have an Ethernet port, that means you have way faster speed access than Wi-Fi. And so I got that because it was like the controller was like, I think like $10-15. And I was like, sure, I'll pay that just to get a free Chromecast Ultra. And so that's why I have it. So I have the stupid controller, and I had Stadia for like 6 months or something because it came with a 6-month subscription. And when it ended, I just never renewed it because why would I? But like, yeah, Orcs Must Die 2 or Orcs Must Die 3 was the only game I played on it because it was the only game I was like, yeah, I actually don't own this game anywhere else. Everything else is like, yeah, I already own this. So it's like, you want to play Destiny? I'm like, no, I already got it on like 6 different platforms. But
we have it, but worse.
Yeah, it was like, but you can't play with everybody else on PC. I'm like, why would I play Destiny with only Google Stadia members? That sounds like a terrible idea. Like, what the fuck? How many of you are there? Like 3? Or is there even enough to raid? Like this is it really
terrible idea. Is it really
only
Stadia? There's no cross
Yeah,
platform?
It's only Stadia. There's no it's not cross.
Why wouldn't they? Oh my god.
So it was like, this is a terrible idea.
What a weird community to exist.
Yeah, it was really weird, but Orcs Must Die 3 was like pretty good. Like I don't know. I hope that it comes out on other platforms soon because what a waste.
No, it's on Steam. I'm probably gonna play it next with Bird since we finished Resident Evil. We're like one mission from finishing Resident Evil 6.
I beat it on Stadia, so I never checked out if it was anywhere else because like, well, once you beat Orcs Must Die, you don't really. I'm not gonna go back to it, But so I was like, well, that's it. I hope it comes out on other platforms because this poor game, like being locked to a sinking ship, basically is like a.
It was sad because it's like, Orcs Must Die is back after that really embarrassing thing where they tried to be a MOBA and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Why did they do that?
I think it was
you just take the whatever's popular route. Like you have to ask, why does Fortnite now have a Among Us version in it now? Why is Among Us just in Fortnite? I don't know, because it's popular.
I think the problem with Stadia was that it required Google specific hardware, and first off, their controller looks like it's terrible. It looks awful. Like I don't know if it's good or not because I never used it, but it just looks like nobody even tried. It's just a blob. It's like you holding a blob of just like okay, and you need it to play. You cannot or you needed it. I don't know if they implemented the features, but one of the best features would be that you could play any game on any device at any time. And so it makes sense that you didn't need the Stadia controller, right? You just play with your controller or your keyboard or on your phone. Nope. It's only Pixel 3 for the release. It's only with the Stadia controller, and I think even people who had the Stadia controller couldn't play some games. The launch was full of basically, it was rushed. It was a rushed launch, and
I'm shocked.
It smells of it stinks of those it's those little projects that Google
just wanted to pee on some trees.
Yeah. And then Google is like, you know what? We can make a big deal out of this. Bring in the marketing department. Let's make this. Just big companies. They're very good for efficiency, you see. It's very good for efficiency.
Big companies are always about trying to find that you're just mining for gold every day. The idea is you're trying to find a way to either keep profits consistent or make a lot of money. And like in Microsoft's case, for example, their entire goal is to just break even at minimum. Like the bare minimum is you have to be making at least the amount that you're investing in. And if not, like once it gets to that point, once it's something stable, like Xbox Game Pass, for example, where you can just access all these games, now it has to be profitable. Because if it's not profitable, then like even if it's cutting even, why support it? You know, like why are you going to invest? What's the long-term strategy for this thing? And so that's why you see like, oh, well, if we buy a company like Bethesda and put all our games on the Xbox Game Pass only, then it creates this demand for it because it's the only way people are going to play Fallout on modern consoles. And so like a lot of features in Xbox you see just fall off the wayside the moment they can't become profitable. Like there you can like and Game Pass, like the Xbox Indie Arcade is the same way where you're like, well, was this really costing you money to operate? And it's like, no, this definitely didn't cost us money to operate. Like this is very a net even type of deal. But the moment you ask like, well, how do you make money off of this in a good sense? And it's like, okay, well, you kind of don't really, unless you want to screw over indie developers, which means they'll leave and you'll lose money. So like you end up having to go like, okay, well, we're either going to keep this here forever, just existing in its neutral state, or we cut it and focus our efforts somewhere else. And it's like, usually big companies are always about cutting and adding, like cutting back something to make room for something new. And once that doesn't work out, cutting that out to make room for something new indefinitely until you die. And like, it's awful. It's like it's not really how good innovation happens.
Chase of profit.
Yeah, but it's
like even when you have profit, then it's not enough profit because now you're going to like project wanting more profit, and then it doesn't happen. You're like, oh, that means it's a failure because it profited but not hard enough.
Yeah, and so you eventually, you just get to a point where you have to, you get to a point where you either, if you don't strike gold, then you're gonna have to find a way to make it fake gold, and you know, I would imagine you imagine that's how Xbox Live itself existed. Was it came into existence and it was kind of just shitty. Like, why would you pay for Xbox Live back in the original Xbox days until Halo 2 came out? And once Halo 2 came out, you're like, oh shit, we need to buy Xbox Live because like otherwise how am I going to play with my friends? But before then, Xbox Live was like literally a waste of money. What are you going to like Sega GT online with your friends? Get the fuck out of here. You're not playing that with your friends. Get out. There was nothing to do with Xbox Live until something came out that made it worth having, made it profitable. And so you get this like sense of fake gold where you're like, oh, okay, well, this thing like makes Xbox Live good. Oh, and now if you want to like get the new maps for Halo, you got to have Xbox Live. And you're like, oh, okay, well, shit, I guess I want to get those new maps. So I got to get Xbox Live. Like you had to like create value where there was no value. Because again, Xbox Live never changed. It's not like the service somehow got better because it didn't. It was still just Xbox Live, but something came along and gave it fake value. And so like I feel like at least Microsoft.
That's Nintendo's strategy with their.
Yeah, I mean, well, Nintendo's strategy is kind of bananas. I don't really know what
Also,
they're doing
yes,
half
yes.
the time.
We're gonna start charging for our online multiplayer, but not finish making it.
So
So
yeah,
you're
they're
gonna,
like,
you're
we're
gonna
gonna
use a
charge.
phone on an app on your phone in order to have voice chat.
Like, so Nintendo Online's terrifyingly crazy because it goes, okay, we're gonna have an online thing, but none of it's built yet. And you're like, what does that mean? It's like, okay, so if you want to talk with your friends, you got to get an app for that on your phone. I don't have a phone. Well, then you ain't talking to your friends. And you're like, what? Wait a second. Is this like a basic feature in like Xbox 360? It's like, yes. But besides that point, moving on. So now you can also have access to all these games, like all these old games from the like Super Nintendo. And you're like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Like the emulator stuff that you already did for the Wii U. And you're like, no, different games that we're going to port slowly and individually. And you're like, didn't you already do this? Yeah, but we're not doing that again. We're doing something. It's like Nintendo, just like you could just copy paste, like just take, and it's the same emulation software from the Wii U. I know it is because I have a Wii U and I played a bunch of emulated games on the Wii U. It's the exact same stupid fucking emulator, but they just didn't copy paste the games over for some reason. So now you have this like half-ass built library of like consoles. So you have like the NES, and they went up to like a certain amount, and they're like, let's do Super Nintendo now. And you're like, why didn't you wait? You didn't finish the NES library?
The Switch is slowly releasing a series of weird old games on their weird app. You have to open the app itself individually, which is nicer than having to buy every game, I guess. But there's like no good way to like sort that library or like organize it. They just puke it onto your shelves, and the games change size. The tiles change size based on how many you put on the same shelf, and you just have to like organize it yourself, and they keep puking more games onto it, and a whole bunch of them are the same game again, but it's like a save state that you load that's like a cheat mode or something. So like you'll have like sometimes four of the same game, and I'm like, what the fuck is this menu? What are you doing to me?
It is weird, and I can't make any claims. I don't know what goes on inside of the company, but it's like
weird choices.
It feels almost like somebody keeps getting worried that this isn't enough. It feels like an executive decision saying like, hey, how come we're not seeing a 50% increase in subscribers? We're releasing all these stupid virtual console games. What's going on? Someone's like, So they keep asking for these other virtual console games, and we're just not going to give those to them. So they're not
if they launch an N64 one, I'll be so happy though.
But what are they going to do? Because half of the games on the N64, they don't have a license to put on anymore. So like this is the other hurdle they keep running into, which is like,
just
okay,
get them,
here
loser.
are all these.
Just get them again.
It's right. You like what is Microsoft doing with Rare anyways? Just take it back. Just take backsies. Just take it back. It doesn't matter. And it's this is the last thing they made, like grabbed by the ghoulies. Like what the fuck? Whatever. The it's so one of the problems that Nintendo has is they have this, they run like solely on nostalgia. Like that's their entire fuel source, is people are nostalgic for the games that they've made in the past, and so they want sequels to those games that they then make, and then the cycle repeats again. Then they create these games, people love them, goes back into the nostalgia bank, and then like 10 years later they go, hey, where's that like Samus game? Isn't there like Samus? Don't you have Samus? And they're like, yeah, here you go. Here's like Metroid, but in 2.5D. And you're like, whoa, I miss Samus. And you're like, okay, well,
on one hand, I'm really happy that so many games that are older are available on like vaguely recent platforms. Like we're I mean, at this point, we're so far into the HD remake like era that when I played Ico this year, I realized that the HD remake I was currently playing was as old as Ico was when the remake was made. Like it's a 20-year-old game, but it's a 10-year-old remake or HD re-release or whatever. Yeah, because that's what it's like to play a PS3 HD thing, which back then I would just be like, oh, this is a great value buy. They just put out like HD trilogies. Now just buy them all. I mean, like maybe one day they'll get to this.
To be fair,
so I just got a booklet full of those.
To be fair, that was better than Pathologic, because the version everyone plays of Pathologic is from 2005, which is an HD remake of a 1999 game, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And I played it for the first time in like 3 years ago or something. So
yeah, that was a relatively recent HD remake, but it was a remake made in Pathologic's case. It was made because they I think they even kickstarted or something, but they were gonna make a remake of Pathologic.
Oh, I'm sorry. The original game is from 2006. The remake is 2015. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The thing that happened there is they were gonna remake Pathologic, and then they realized that there was so much they wanted to change in the remake, which is why Pathologic 2 is like a Zelda sequel, where it's like the same vague setting and characters, but all the story is changed and so on.
So that's what Dark Souls 3 is. It's a Zelda sequel.
Kinda, yeah. But so they were like, fuck, we're just gonna quickly up-res the original game and retranslate it. And so that's what they did. So the Pathologic HD that you can play is like a better translated version that runs on modern hardware, and then they left it at that, and then they got to work making the sequel that was itself the remake, but it's a remake that became a sequel remake reboot because it's like it's almost the same map and almost the same characters and almost the same story, but everything's like shifted around, like they redid it. It's basically like when it's like when a different movie studio makes the same Sherlock story, but it's the same studio, so it's even more confusing. But anyway, I'm happy that so many games are currently available as remakes and so on, or specifically re-releases. Just like I have more negative feelings about remakes, but I just like that shit doesn't just become unobtainable. Like, we live in the modern digital age where like I get really put off when I'm like, oh man, when I find like a PS3 game that was disc only, so it's like unobtainable now, and you're like, no, that was the era where you had the chance to be around forever. I could be still downloading you today. But this thing is like an Ouroboros. It's a nightmare where it's like I think about like specifically Nintendo, like they went back and like the Wii U, as maligned as it was like the Zelda machine, because it eventually contained every 3D Zelda ever made. Like they just made every single one of them on there one by one. And also like between
the Zelda machine,
between Skyward Sword and now, I talked about this in my video about it, but like between Skyward Sword and now, they did an HD remake of every single 3D Zelda until they then hit like the 10-year mark, where they then also made a remake of Skyward Sword. So like right around the time Skyward Sword came out, they did Ocarina of Time, and then since then they went all the way through the entire loop until now there's currently an HD remake of every 3D Zelda except Breath of the Wild. Like, and they're already talking about like, oh, we're gonna put Twilight Princess on the Switch or whatever, or something like that. I think I've heard something like that. Like, it's just like it's like, congratulations, you got them all on one console just in time for that console to be dead, and now the new one's out. And there is this question of like, how, like, do you just have a perpetual porting team that just endlessly ports your old games to newer consoles over and over again and has to pick which one it is, and it'll always be this frustratingly incomplete list, because by the time you get any headway on the list, you then have a new console and you start over again. Like, what
somewhere in the background,
it's like Skyrim re-releases.
Yes.
Or Resident Evil 4 re-releases.
Wait, Resident Evil 4 has many re-releases?
Oh, there's so many Resident Evil 4s.
I didn't know.
They've pretty much been on like every single console since the GameCube. Like, it it's like a must-have. It's like the Skyrim problem, where like Skyrim's on every single console, and you're just like, okay, well, have you ever made a game besides Skyrim? Like, have you ever done anything past that? And they're like, no, that sounds like work.
It's a 10-year-old
Yeah, Skyrim's
game
still the most
now.
recent one. Yeah, it's like
we started off playing playing Dark Souls and Skyrim. Like, that was at the beginning.
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying
the Skyrim recording was so bad, I think we just deleted it and didn't upload it.
Yeah, but it was new at the time, which is like, that's crazy. That's crazy to me that Skyrim has some, and like, of course, it's not because Skyrim's such a good game. It's because there's such an active modding community. You have people that are like keeping it alive through like resuscitation external content. But like but to me it's crazy. Well, like it's crazy to me that like it comes out on consoles again and again and again, and it's just the base game. It's not like they're porting some kind of magic version of Skyrim every time.
I mean, usually
like
when they change something, isn't it worse? Like, wasn't the special edition like, hey, all your mods don't work and also mods are worse now or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, because in the special edition they tried doing like a paid mod thing. Like you had to pay to access mods, and people were like, no. They're like, no, we're not gonna do that, because it's not like the people designing the mods were getting the money, and so it was like, no, this is not gonna work, and so no one just cared about the special edition. It's like, oh well, in the trash it goes. Like it's I don't know, it's weird, and but people keep buying it, so people must want it, and it must be a thing that they must have to have. And I guess you could do the argument of like, you know, it's a generational thing, like, oh, the people buying it today are the people who didn't have a Xbox 360.
I've still never had enough fun with Skyrim to beat it once.
That's another problem, is that it's obviously not a game made for everybody, but I don't feel like it's a game made for enough people to re-release on multiple consoles.
Not a very good RPG arc, is it? Like, you know how like in Morrowind you can't like even hit things, and then you like eventually become god or but some shit. Good. Like it keeps escalating and things are going.
Can't hit things.
Yeah, there's like a rising element to it all. In fucking Skyrim, it's like I am the fucking chosen one Dovahkiin guy. I literally killed a dragon and stole its voice in like the first like hour. Where do you go from there? It feels over. It's like the fucking, it's like it's like having the ending at the beginning and then trying to come up with more story afterwards. It's like I ascended a mountain and was chosen by a bunch of old dudes and slayed a dragon and shit. Like, game over. This was an interesting little 1 hour indie game. Bye.
I'm waiting so much. Like, I'm looking forward so much to somebody coming up with an open world game, even though open world games are not my favorite. But I do play them every once in a while. But coming up with a world game story that doesn't revolve around you basically being the lord of the whole world that is open to you, or in a way, either because you save it or because you have to kill everyone that is
it's like your job to conquer the map in some way, and it's like this colonial approach to things, or it's like like in a lot of games, like you have the game where you literally have to like I don't remember if this came up much in specifically Breath of the Wild, but it's like an Assassin's Creed game or a Saints Row game or so on. Like, it'll literally have a map broken up into chunks where you essentially have to like conquer it or accomplish all these goals and or make everybody on your side or something. Like that really shitty Kung Fu Furry game that came out this year. You have to like purge the world of darkness or something and like conquer the map by picking a side and winning the war or whatever.
But I think there are open world games. Oh, I mean, most GTA games are not necessarily about saving the world, and it's huge open world games. So the stories are there. Or like the original Mafia was a game that I enjoyed at the time when I played it, and it felt very much. Well, I haven't played. Felt very much like a cozy story.
I haven't played 1, but 2 was weird because like it just happened to have an open world but didn't use it at all.
Yeah.
It was just, okay, now drive to your next story mission. I'm like, can I just be there? All right, I guess I'll try.
Yeah, that was the criticism of Mafia 2. The first game was a lot more in neighborhoods, if I remember correctly. So basically the quests would just revolve around the same neighborhood. You'd know it a little, and then you'd move on to another one or take trips out. I don't remember it too well. It's been a long time. But it felt very much like a GTA without the incentive to go around smashing everything and punching everyone. Because GTA has, in GTA you also don't need to. You also don't need to explore the open world, but the game rewards you if you do. Whereas Mafia, at least the first one, didn't reward you at all. So some people didn't like that. Some people felt that it was empty, and the second game definitely drew that criticism. I never played it, or the third.
Yeah, I've never played any of the Mafia games. Which
Pathologic is interesting for that, actually. But the
Pathologic's a Mafia game? That's kind of terrible.
No, sorry.
It doesn't reward you in the. No.
Yeah.
I did the interrupting thing because a thought just like leaked out slowly.
No, go ahead.
I like the idea of a Mafia.
Here I go.
A Mafia. What's it called? pathologic
Mafia
experience.
Pathologic. I think it'd be good.
The Mafia Pathologic. No, I just mean the fact that because you talked about like the specific like exploiting the map and all that. Like pathologic is like the anti that, where it's like the entire map is decaying, and whatever flaccid attempts you could make towards in any way fighting against that is a losing battle all the way up until the ending.
Yeah.
Like you do not make headway. You just watch more and more of the map succumb, and you can't stop it.
And then in my case, you lose at the end, and that's the end of the game. The game gives you an ending, which is I think
did you
it's
lose a
honest of the game.
pathologic?
I did. I think it's honest of the game, which in comparison to Prey Moon Crash, which is the DLC for Prey, the latest Prey. Do you know that in Prey Moon Crash, you can never reload your game, right? That's one of the pretenses of the setup. You can never reload. You don't have a save system, and if you die, the game sort of boots you out of this simulation thing, and you try again. And there's mechanisms for you to do that. So there's no failure state throughout the whole game. It's more of a setback if you do something wrong, unless you're playing the very latest part of the game, which is a very short section, where it could very well give you an ending for what happens if you die, which is a very serious possibility because it's a life or death situation at the end. And I died, and the game just gave me a reload from latest save, and I'm like, what? That never happened in this DLC. And it broke the ending tone for me so much. It was just like, wow. So basically, because I could reload, the death threat wasn't a problem, and so I figured out what I had to do. I actually had to look it up because I couldn't figure it out.
Changed its rules in the final segment.
It did, and then it just gave me the ending cinematic, which I mean was what it was, and that was. I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it was just I always like when games take. Obviously, I always like when games take failure of objectives on the nose and just keep going. Either if it is an ending and it's just like, oh, now you get this ending, and you reload if you want to get another ending, or if it is just changing. Obviously, you could change the storyline based on your failure, which is always the best objective or the best thing. But it's I don't know. It's something that stuck with me. Prey Moon Crash was a huge disappointment.
I liked it.
They're new. I know. We talked about it off camera.
Yeah,
a little.
It was a fun time. I don't remember a single part of the story.
That seems
it was
not
just
good.
Well, because for context, Andrew, it was a thing where there's a moon base that has like collapsed or died or something. You know, like how every immersive sim style game is always like the BioShock thing where it's like, here's this place that it was like some kind of civilization or military or science location that has broken down and everyone's dead, and there's like notes everywhere where you can uncover non-linearly what happened. It was like that kind of setting. But specifically, you played as 5 characters that all were there during when it happened, and so each time, and what you do is you pick a character to play, and then you play a life as them. So you try to explore around, and like the place gets more and more dangerous in a Risk of Rain sort of way, where there's a timer and it keeps getting more and more into a corrupted level while you're exploring and looting and shooting and all that. And you like puzzle through some of the immersive sim style environment and figure out how to open certain doors or certain things about the environment. And then inevitably you will die or run out of time or something. And then instead of being like, okay, you lost, dummy, load a save or whatever, it'll be like, no, that's just what happened. Now play one of the other characters, and then you play as the other character, and like, oh, the doors I opened are open, and like the loot I grabbed is gone. Like it's the same world as the previous character ran through. And so and each character has completely different abilities, and like I think maybe even inventory sizes, or can use different tools or something.
Yeah.
And so eventually you get like the Metroidvania sort of feel where you've unlocked all 5 characters, and you can use different characters to do different things in the environment. And like one of the ultimate goals, aside from just solving what happened ultimately at the Moon Crash base, is to have all 5 characters escape from the base in the same run. So you have to figure out which escapes each one can access, and like what their abilities are, and like do a flawless run where nobody dies. And that's way more memorable than like any of like, what was the plot or what was the ending? It's got like a framing device that you're like a Strange Days style character that's like reviewing the tapes of what happened and or whatever via VR, and you're sort of like reliving these people's experiences. And like, I guess it's like the Assassin's Creed thing where you're supposed to like try to recreate what genuinely happened via simulation. And
so what happened to me?
So you just keep looping.
What happened to me is that, to pick on what Keith said, that you find out that all the doors that you opened were open when you play with a new character, or all the loot that you took was taken. And the moment I found that out, I saw no reason to ever not reset the simulation. So basically, the moment I died or I escaped, it didn't matter. I would just always reset the simulation.
So you would never play another character in the same run?
I would play another character, but the character that I wanted on a fresh world. Because you just make your life harder for yourself if you play the way the game pretends.
I guess you can just
to.
opt into not engaging with the systems.
I think that's why I didn't have a good time. I also didn't have a good time because the game has a timer, and so I can't just stop and look at the texts and emails because monsters will spawn behind me. So I just bad.
I did. I just fucked off and wasted my time for the first few runs and explored, and just because I was like, I understood what type of game it was, so I was just like resigned to like, oh yeah, these first runs I'm just gonna die, but I'm just gonna like learn everything I can and about the story and the setting and like what happened and pick up on what's going on, and poke at this puzzle box, and then eventually it'll be like, this is the real run, like Hades. Like you're just like, oh, I'm not gonna win this run. I'm just gonna kind of go, and then eventually you do start winning, and you kind of enter like the part of your Hades playthrough where you're like, this is the part where I keep trying to win over and over again, as opposed to like just kind of pushing deeper into it. Be like, maybe I'll beat the bull this time. He's a dick.
I didn't realize Hades does that as well, where I didn't know you got progress by losing.
And Hades is like Rogue Legacy, where you have a series of persistent currencies that upgrade your character and so on. And so playing it over and over again makes you do, like, people do like blind runs, not blind, like fresh runs where they're like, I haven't even died once. I don't even have access to the upgrade systems. They haven't even told me what they are yet, and I'm gonna beat the game. And maybe the game will have like maybe the game will have like some cute unique dialogue about it or something, but the game is, you're supposed to lose over and over again, like in Rogue Legacy, and slowly chip your way forward.
Yeah, the idea is that you not only are you making the game slightly more easier for you as you are learning it, but then you get rewarded for making the game harder for yourself later. So it's like you get this weird like inverse growth where you want to do as much as you can to spend your currency to make the game more manageable for you to get through. And then once you get to a certain point, there's like a plateau you get to where in order to progress down to the actual ending of the game, you need to start making the game harder for yourself by like adding these weird variables, like enemies do more damage or enemies take more damage. And like, then eventually you start upgrading all of these weapons. And when you start upgrading them, all of the gods start reacting to those upgraded weapons. And like, then you start getting into finishing the main story. Whereas a lot of roguelike games tend to stick to a pretty like clear scale where you keep going up indefinitely until you just until you get bored of the game or you beat it. And like a Binding of Isaac sense of like, I did it. I saw every ending.
Hades also clearly wants you to play forever.
Yeah, Hades does want you to keep playing forever, which is why they give you like so many fucking variables to add to your to make yourself punished more. And there's a lot of like, in Hades there's so many things you can unlock and so many things, like they even let you change how your HUD looks. Like you can get unlocks for your HUD, and who gives a shit? Like I really like at the end of the day, like, and I appreciate it. It's really, I'm not trying to be like, wow, what a waste of time. That's really cool and interesting. But as a person who's just playing to get better at the game, I could give two shits if my HUD looks like one thing or another. All that matters to me is my ability to play the game is like, as long as my skill is up and up and I keep being able to beat harder challenges I put for myself, I could care less how the HUD looks. But somebody else might not. Somebody might say, look, I just want to have a fun time. oh, and now it can look like summer. Cool, I'm gonna do that. And it's like, that's fine, great. Hades gives you a lot of options and customization and a lot of like side busy work you can waste your time doing if you want to, or you can just put your head down and just beeline through the game. And I think
even
a lot
all
of
the
roguelites,
story is just so much. Like you,
but
you roll the credits by beating the game 10 times, but you will not even be remotely close. Like I was prioritizing as hard as I could, just getting nectars because I was hoping that I get as much story done as I could in the scope of the Let's Play. And I'm like, I didn't finish fucking anyone's stories. Like it's such a cosmic infinity fucking like Northern Lion playing Binding of Isaac level of commitment to like get to finish all the storylines of all the different characters beyond just beating the story and like getting the credits to roll when you beat the game 10 times. Like it's an astronomical investment. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I never played the Hades, but I watched your Let's Play. I couldn't really understand exactly what we were doing specifically with the mechanics, because the way you play, you just sort of engage more with your choices rather than necessarily just explaining the game that's right in front of everybody's eyes. Especially because a lot of people who watch our Let's Plays, they know how to play the game, especially a game like Hades, I would say. But I am terrible at that kind of games. I bought
for the average commenter, I was spending too much time talking about what I was doing.
I bought Bastion on release. I remember buying it on release, and the moment I got out of the tutorial area, so not tutorial area, but like the very easy first few levels, and started to deal more with shield people and archers and like actual proper what Bastion is, I just got killed over and over again, and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I don't know how to play these games. Goodbye.
Oh.
I guess those were $30 that I went down the drain. I mean, not really, because it's an indie development.
Yeah,
developer and stuff.
Bastion's like 15 or something. That was a cheap game.
It was? Okay, yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know I bought it like on the day of release. I was like, I really want to see what this game is like.
Oh yeah, I know. But Bastion and Transistor both came out during an era where it was unheard of for a game like that to cost more than that. Whereas I think Pyre and Hades both cost more eventually.
Which is good. I mean,
yeah.
Like their games are ridiculously well built.
Oh yeah,
they're really well made games. Like, and Bastion being $20 is like insulting when you compare Bastion to like other games of that year that costed more, and you're like, what?
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
We did a Game of the Year vote between the two of us back in 2011 when we started Sad Games, and like ultimately Portal 2 won because what we did is we both did a ranked list and then I averaged our two ranked lists, and collectively between the two of us, Portal 2 was the highest rated game. But like it was genuinely hard for me to choose between Portal 2, Dark Souls 1, and Bastion as Game of the Year.
Yeah.
That's like the scale it was on. And it's also fucking nuts. Those all came out that same year, and anyone gives a fuck about Skyrim by comparison. like fucking the all three of those games came out in 2011. Who gives a fuck about Skyrim? Game's so fucking boring. Dark Souls broke that kind of RPG for me forever. Like it's so hard to handle games where you like, I'm just gonna flail at stuff or kind of just smack them a lot, or I don't know. Well,
I mean, if it's an action RPG, the action needs to be good. The action itself,
and it's almost never good.
No, it isn't. But I guess that's what makes it so amazing that a game like Bastion even exists. Is that when you look at like all
so good.
Yeah, but you look at it again compared to things that came out during that year, and you try to think about like, man, how did they just get away with doing this? How do other games get away with not doing even half the work that went into Bastion and somehow get to break in all of the profit? Which is that's great. You should have a sign. Like it's a great team. It's a great soundtrack. It's like everything about Bastion.
We're gonna drive all the way to Southern California. It's gonna take 8 hours, and I'd just be like, all right, Bastion CD on loop. Let's go.
Yeah, I remember the soundtrack impressing me early in the game.
Oh, it's
I don't
so
think I've ever
good.
even watched a Let's Play. It's really difficult to play those games. Well, it's not difficult. It's if you don't click with it, with that style of gameplay, the game doesn't really allow you to learn it in the way that Dark Souls allows, for example. I think that's why I say Dark Souls isn't a difficult game. It's just it's a hard game to beat on your first try without deaths, which is what happens with a lot of RPGs. I just beat Dragon Age 2. I died 3 times, and that's normal. It's a normal thing to do. Do you go and play Dark Souls? No, you're not going to die 3 times. You're going to die 3 times to the first few enemies in the first few levels.
Fallout has a difficulty wall episode coming.
Sorry, it takes a little bit more than 3 enemies to not die in Dark Souls. Like,
you're gonna die.
Die. It's gonna take you like kind of like 5 to 25 enemies, and then you'll be like, wait a second, I think I know what I'm doing, and then you'll meet your first boss, and then you'll like have to reassess everything you learned and go, no, I actually don't know what I'm doing. I got lucky. How the hell did I get there? Dark Souls is a very terrifying experience in like player confidence, where you're like, yeah, I think I've got something down, and the game goes, no, you just got lucky, chump, and you're like, oh shit, okay, sorry, I'll come back later.
Is, like, I'm not saying, when I say it's not a difficult game, I mean it. I mean it's in the sense of you just need to adjust your expectations. You can't expect to not die. In the sense
our expectations were too adjusted when we played it.
That might be the case.
What happened in our case, because it's immortalized on YouTube forever, the trash that happened. But what happened is that we finished the Asylum Demon situation, and then we went straight into like the fucking like the graveyard. And it's like, oh god, all these skeletons just get back up when you defeat them, and they're really dangerous and strong, and there's a whole bunch of them at the same time, and then even when you run past them, the fucking kaiju skeleton will chase you down the tunnel, and it's terrifying, and then when we go down there, people explode, and there's holes everywhere. What the fuck is this? And then finally, like after a while, we're like, we must be going the wrong way. So then we went down to New Londo. so now we're in the fucking ghost place where nothing can get hurt because they're ghosts. And we're like, and like the whole time, you're like, specifically the problem is that we know the rumors about this game being hard. So we're like, well, this game really is hard. I guess that's true. And so like the game gives you so much freedom to go in the wrong directions, which I think is kind of a mistake in the beginning of the game, and then because the game's famously hard, you don't even know how to calibrate your expectations, because you're like, oh yeah, the game's hard, so I guess this is just what it's like, I guess we'll figure it out. But it's like, no, you're supposed to find this really specific, not very visible path that goes up the side of the hill into like the waterway or whatever, past some rat, and then that takes you to the actual intro area, the upper undead burg. That's like baby shit by comparison. It's a bunch of stupid zombies that die in like 2 hits. Like you're like, oh, this was here the whole time? Took us like 3 hours to find this place. We thought the other place was just what the game was.
I cut my teeth on the Undead Asylum, and it's the slow pace that did it for me. Because the game just makes you think like, you see a normal hollow ahead of you, just harmless hollow if you know their moves. But you're like, okay, let's get ready. Let's not take any hits. And then in comes the hollow with the hesitating swing, and you're like, you roll too early, and then okay, there goes an Estus Flask. Let's do it.
Traps.
And that back and forth all the way up into the first bonfire in Undead Asylum is what really clicked for me. And then it just kept getting better because, first off, you start dealing with a really tough enemies soon, which are the Black Knights or Dark Knights or whatever. And then you fight your first boss, which is the Taurus. It's not a Taurus demon. What's the one up top? The one in the
Asylum Demon.
No, in Undead Asylum. Oh, am I saying the wrong terms? The Undead Burg. I mean, not it's
the Undead Burg boss is the Taurus demon.
Yeah. Yeah, not the Capra demon. Right. The Taurus demon.
Yeah, Capra demon's later. No, the Taurus demon. That's a fucking odyssey. If you can beat the Taurus demon, you can beat Dark Souls. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Like that is
That's
such a brutal. If nothing else, it's like the fact that it's like that's the most Demon Souls level in all of Dark Souls, where you have to play this massive fucking level to get to the Tauros demon
But it's
every
so good.
time. So like every time you're trying to get back to fight him again, you once again have to figure out how to get through this path that can 100% kill you if you don't pay full attention every time, and you have to develop a system. Like you have to get used to it, and like
And
the
it's
game
so
never
good
quite
to
does that
learn,
to you
though, as
again.
Yeah, it doesn't do that because it can't. Like just the when you learn it, you learn it. That's it. It's like going back to play Dark Souls 3 again. If you beat it once, you're just gonna. It's like New Game Plus, even though you're playing on, with a new character, because you know every move. You know, I mean, you may not remember exactly all the timings, but you remember the level design. You know where to look. You know what you need to do. Everything is different when you're learning, and the learning in Dark Souls is just brilliant. It's so well done from a mechanical level. I'm not even talking about just the. Obviously, I think I think it isn't as well done as it should be. The whole letting you go down into the catacombs or in the New Londo area. It's just like they should just have a yeah. They shouldn't have the way they did, because the problem is it's possible to kill the skeletons up top. If it weren't possible to kill the skeleton up top, you never would go down into the catacombs. If you had to have like a blessed weapon or something, or had to activate like like ring the bells to let the skeletons be killable or something like that. It's something simple like that. You could do it like that, because the second bell. Yeah, you never need to go into the catacombs to ring the second bell, do you?
The second bell, you go through Lower Undead Burg into the depths.
Yeah.
And then you go from there through Blight Town.
Yeah. All that area is just after ringing the bell, so it's like
New
late
Londo's
game.
for Four Kings.
Yeah.
I did a gimmick run where I specifically killed the Four Kings before ringing the bells. So you have one of the 4 Great Souls before ever even knowing that the Great Souls exist or why to get them, because you just have to.
Power.
You just have to go through New Londo, obviously, and then you also have to go through the garden to kill Sif, because that's the only way to survive the fall to the Four Kings. But yeah, it's the only one of the 4 souls that's not locked behind one of those golden gates, those golden fog gates that dispel when you get the Lord Vessel.
I saw one of them once, and I was super confused. I was like, "What in the world?
Yeah,
what is this?
There's other gates? What does this mean?"
I don't know which one I saw. I think I saw the one that goes up to the Scaleless, the castle, the Scaleless.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the Duke's archives are right next to they're in Anor Londo, and so you just they just have to gate you. Like you can't go left, go straight and go to Ornstein and Smo. You can't go left until you beat them.
But I think like if I remember correctly, the only time I was 100% lost and I didn't know how to advance was in Anor Londo, where I couldn't find a rafter that you had to drop into to proceed. The one where you even go to the room with the painting, the big painting.
Yeah, no, there's really confusing elements here and there. Like you have to. It's go to like scurry along the flying buttresses or whatever the fuck words are for that stuff. Because the way forward just doesn't work in Anor Londo, so you have to it's part of the DNA of the games a little bit, is like that kind of fucking around, but like they kind of want you to feel like you're breaking the level a little bit, and then a lot of Anor Londo is you feeling like you're running along parts of the level that are supposed to be the non-interactive part.
Yeah,
it's really cute.
Yeah, but I was genuinely lost there. I did not know how to advance. Fortunately, I was playing the game on stream when I first beat it, and somebody said, "You didn't look hard enough," and then I found it.
Look harder, dummy.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting game.
This is going back to action RPGs not being like Dark Souls. I honestly think that the next Elder Scrolls game, I don't know about the Starfield or whatever, because I don't know what kind of game it's going to be, but the next Elder Scrolls game has to have Dark Souls-like combat. Not Dark Souls-like difficulty or enemies, not that. Specifically the combat style, where you have this ponderous swing of a sword or an axe or a weapon or a spellcaster, and the locking on targets and all that sort of stuff. That needs to that needs to exist, because the it just makes it fun to play the game, and I think it's just not fun. Skyrim is just not a fun game to play on a moment-to-moment thing, and the evidence of that is in the way they approach loot and the way they approach the economy of the game. Because think about it, you explore so much in Dark Souls, and in Dark Souls 1, you might as well not even be able to sell anything that you collect. You don't even think about selling. You can sell things to one specific character. In Dark Souls 2 is the same thing. You can sell things to one specific character. But it's like there's no economy in Dark Souls. It's full of exploration, and it does not need to sustain itself.
You just gotta go
in
find
jewels
things.
or treasure. It's just exploration. It's such a brilliant mechanism, and it's all because, well, for one, it's the nature of the leveling up and the experience. So that's the treasure. The souls are the experience of that you get from killing things is the treasure. But Skyrim doesn't. It also has experience, but it needs to sustain itself all with the treasures and the locks and the things and all that. And it's so obvious that they have to have that. It's just I think that to really be successful, they need to come up with something better.
The real Dark Souls are the friends we made along the way.
Like, who the fuck knows? That game's massively more successful than Dark Souls will ever be. So I guess being kind of bad is the answer. Who the fuck knows? Like,
I wouldn't gauge that as success. I wouldn't say that Bethesda's a successful company. I would say that they are a sustainable company. They can keep them. Actually, I don't even know if that's true, because I don't think they sold themselves to Microsoft on purpose. Like, I don't think they sold it because they were making mad money. I think they sold themselves because they were like, shit, this is not going well.
Fallout 76 and the state of their current games have been a bit of a problem for the company.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder if there's any kind of like specific one factor that could be leading to the continual decline of Bethesda's shares. It couldn't be anything to do with the game they just released on the new Xbox and PS5.
What game?
Skyrim. They just re-released Skyrim again. Like, maybe if they fucking just made a new game, Jesus Christ. And Fallout 76 doesn't count because they just copy-pasted Fallout fucking 4. You can't do that. Make a new game. It has to be a brand new game.
Now they're trapped
so
in the No Man's Sky loop of trying to redeem 76 by updating it over and over again for years. And it's like, once again, would have been nice to put that effort in before you put it out, because that's the reputation forever.
It's never gonna happen though. Fallout 76 is a game
because you're always trying
like
to bolt shit onto a game that's already live, so you can't fundamentally change it. You can just keep trying to
that too.
put makeup
I didn't even
on
think
it.
about that. Yeah, that's very true. I didn't even think about that, because you're fighting the players who are already playing. But I think the problem with Fallout 76 is that it's a game at war with itself. It's a game that centers around you collecting things, which is fine. There's a lot of games that center around there, but then does everything it can to impede you from collecting things, as in the carry weight is a pain, the inventory system is a pain, the upgrade system is a pain. You can't replicate Minecraft by being harder to play than Minecraft, and Minecraft is way too hard already. And they try to make it a Minecraft game where you just have the mixture of building and surviving, which is fine. There's a lot of games that try to be that, but you need to make it so much easier to build, and that game is just so difficult. It's unbelievable.
Its goals are
I'm
confusing, because it's like this Borderlands Minecraft, and I'm like, those things don't actually like match. They don't necessarily combine in any meaningful way. So you just randomly grab bagging things that are popular at the time and mashing them together into a game. And I'm like, what was popular, Bethesda? Fallout. Maybe you should just make the Fallout instead of other people's games in the Fallout. Like, Fallout was fine. It wasn't. 4 was bad, but trying to make the next game be like, because they pulled like a fucking Epic Games, like fucking, we're gonna just be cowards and steal somebody else's genre instead of making the game we were trying to make. And it's like, that's not all right. It worked for Epic, I guess. It's a really depressing thing to see happen to like one of the only AAA RPG developers, though. especially since like Bethesda is one of the few people that actually, and it's fucking very variable impact, I guess, but like they're even one of the handful of RPG developers that would make some of the games I would actually call RPGs. And I'm like, sure, it'd be nice to see one of those come out every 3 years instead of like, oh, maybe get around to one every 6 to 7 years, but then it'll be less of an RPG than ever before. And it's like, this is a bad arc. Stop that, please. Who's nobody?
Yeah, but
I don't know who wants this.
I mean, that's the thing, though, is like there's this. Bethesda's such a great example of over accessibility, like creating a game that's so accessible for literally anybody that it's not made for anybody. And you're like, well, what? Who? What?
We're in the
people. I mean,
we're in the dark
people.
timeline at this point for RPGs. I for literally years, like it'd come up in like my Q&A or something, or I'd discuss about how like every AAA RPG developer, their most recent project is their worst one. And like they're all going downhill collectively, and the one shining beacon is CG Projekt Red, who had made at the time like Witcher 3 and its expansions and so on. But now even them, the one exception, also only has an appallingly bad project as their most recent game. And it's like, oh my fucking, what is wrong? What is wrong with the entire industry? Something needs to be addressed here. Like, capitalism has failed. It's time to rebuild the system, apparently. Like, it broke video games. They can't make video games anymore. No one can make video games.
No one can. Yeah, that's true. And if you look elsewhere in the industry, it doesn't necessarily get any better.
You're just like, what the fuck is happening?
It's just that if we expand our horizons far enough, we pick up on all the great gems that have come out over the years that somehow feel that are fewer and far between. But still, if we expand our horizons, we start mixing up things like The Last of Us with The Outer Wilds and
you just need to like whap these people on the head and be like, no, bad. Everything you make is bad and trash now. Something's wrong with you. Go spend a month. Just go to the fucking Supergiant offices and intern there for a month. Learn what the fuck they're doing. Bring that home as an ambassador program. Figure out how to be like Supergiant, because apparently they're the one company where their most recent project is their best one, as opposed to like whatever the fuck the people that are actually making money are doing. Like all the biggest, most massive companies they're run by idiots. Who are making money, none of them know what they're doing.
The people who are making money are people like Activision and Electronic Arts and Microsoft.
And even they like actively defy logic on anything that they're doing. Like they just like, they'll have something successful and they'll shit on it and destroy it. And nothing's ever good enough. Like this is coming up recently because I'm playing Dead Space, and like there's this really insulting loop with Dead Space where the games were perfectly fine. They did great. They were beloved. They were critical darlings. There's so much buzz. The whole reason that remakes have buzz of them now was because the games did well and were beloved when they came out. And like the one person was like, well, to be fair to EA, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the game never made money. I'm like, incorrect. It fell short of projections, which is like pretend failing. Like it sold 4 million copies. It was a wildly successful game, but they were like, yeah, but we decided it should have made more. So now we're going to just like stick all of our fingers in the pudding and fuck up the sequel and destroy the franchise permanently, and then destroy the studio that made it, and then be sad when nobody likes us, and then 10 years later remake the fucking game and try to do that for good PR. And it's like, you know who would have been good at remaking the game? The people that made it. And you know who would have been good at making profitable sequels? The people that made it. Too bad you fucking deleted them from existence, and now they're like, oh, now they're a bunch of fucking indie devs. They're gonna be like over here making, I'm making the spiritual successor to the game I once made because it's mismanaged into oblivion, and now I've got to make pretend Mega Man and pretend Dead Space and so on.
Which is like boring. I really hate the word spiritual successor. And because all spiritual successor is somebody saying, I made a thing that you liked, but it's not as good as the thing you liked. And you're like,
We had
Well,
a
how
whole
would you
extended
fucking
we,
make
all,
that
we had a
then?
whole
Like-
extended discussion on this podcast in the past about how like
Yeah.
the worst parts of Outer Worlds are the parts where it's a spiritual successor to New Vegas and trying way too hard to be a shitty Bethesda game, when the whole point of Outer Worlds was that it was the return of the developer from before the Fallout was a shitty Bethesda game, but they were painfully making it as a Bethesda faithful game, and now their legacy is still chained to making a shitty Bethesda game. And it's like, you guys are free. It's like, no, it's got to be a successor to New Vegas, which means it's got to look like a Bethesda game and play like a Bethesda game. And it's like, but that's bad.
You understand that, right? It is bad, but like, it's
well,
not
it's where the
just...
finances come from. It's like how the modern artist online needs to do fan art in order to get attention, and then they do their personal project on top of that.
I think it's more than that, though.
I think it's kind of a commentary too, but I don't know. Yeah,
I think it's more than that. I think it's like, you need to think of a company like Obsidian. I mean, I suppose it depends on how stable their funding is, but when they tell a publisher that they're making a game, part of the reason why the publisher is going to be interested in paying for that development, or at least subsidizing it in any way to then reap the profits, but part of the reason is, how much does this new game appeal to your already existing fan base? And if you think of Obsidian, most of their fan base comes from New Vegas. It's by far and away their most popular game. It sold 12 million copies. It completely overshadows everything else they have made. And while I think it's an amazing game, personally, I don't think it should be represented. It even is representative of who they are as a company. So they definitely are. They definitely are sort of holding on to it, to New Vegas in Outer Worlds. But I think the reason for that is because that's their fan base. That's the people who have played any of their games. They played New Vegas, so there has to be like a touch point. And I agree with you that it is a worse game for trying to be New Vegas too, in a way. It doesn't do it every time. It doesn't try to be every time. It is a worse game for it, but I think there's a market reason, which...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's weird because their publisher... publisher doesn't...
I forgot the title, but aren't the old Dead Space just making a new Dead Space game now? But it's called something else?
I don't follow their...
No, they're literally like just remaking Dead Space.
The EA is remaking Dead Space, but I heard the real developers of Dead Space are also making a game that's a spiritual successor to Dead Space.
And then we have they are.
And then we got the fucking it's the guy that made Mega Man, made Mighty Number 9, and the guy that made Castlevania made Bloodstained, and the guys
that made Shenmue 3.
Turtle Boys made fucking Back for Blood. Like, it's
Negative Atmosphere
with the same naming scheme. You found it,
Andrew? You were gonna say something about
Negative Atmosphere is the name of the spiritual successor. And it looks like someone just copied the homework. Like, it really just looks like, hey, don't you can copy it, but don't let someone know you did it. And it's like, why just don't do that? Like, just take the creative energy you had to create Dead Space and just make something different. Like, don't just remake Dead Space. Make something
then no one
else.
will care about it, is the problem.
But
that's the problem.
But when you say that's not true, because no one gave a shit about Dead Space until Dead Space existed.
Exactly.
Like, no one gave a shit about anything until it came to existence. Like, I don't understand how, like, the idea of...
You don't understand, Andrew. Capitalism breeds innovation.
Let me... So to put it in perspective, Outer Worlds is published by Private Division. And you know what else Private Division published? Hades. So, like...
But for them,
when you talk to a shareholder and say these... Well, but again, you need money. And so to get money, you need, like, a publisher's going to put it forward because they're investing. They're an investment company that's going to get that money back. But
you need to think from Obsidian's perspective, though. It isn't that private division? Yes. It isn't that Private Division says you need to be like New Vegas. It's that Obsidian themselves, when they're making a game, and before they even show it to publishers, because they do all the internal tests and all those things, when they're making and pitching a game internally, they already are aware of the market dynamics, and so they sort of self-censor in a way and they try to go towards where their fan base already is, and that's why it comes out like that. The pitch, the initial pitch that they made to Private Division already had the DNA of New Vegas in it. I'm sure. I'm talking obviously not without personal experience, because I don't know anybody personally in the company, but this is my understanding of how it works. They come up with the games internally, they develop, they prototype it and all that, and they go to a publisher and they show what they have, and what they have already is tainted by capitalism. Space,
I guess. But again, like my argument is that like it looks like Private Division, and the other game that Private Division published is Kerbal Space Program, and like I'm just saying this company seems to be pretty diverse in what they invest money into. So I doubt you would have had a hard time showing up with Outer Worlds even if you didn't make it a 1-to-1 of Fallout New Vegas.
I'm sure.
I bet you if you showed up with a good enough pitch, which I think Outer Worlds is by itself standalone, a good enough pitch. If you brought that to them without having to add the fucking flavor text of like, ooh, but it's also like Fallout New Vegas, then like I bet it wouldn't have been an issue getting published.
I'm sure, but
and so my argument is like, why would you do a spiritual successor when I doubt that is going to be like, if you showed up and said, hey, we're just going to make Fallout 3 but in space, or Fallout New Vegas but in space, someone would be like,
in space.
Yeah, someone's like, oh yeah, I can see that this is clearly going to win 90% of the market share. Like, no, it's always a gamble. This shit's always a gamble, but the difference is like you prove it based on your like the team and their experience and the plan and how much like thought had gone into the decision. If you show up there with like a sticky note and say like, all right, so my sticky note says RPG, Fallout New Vegas, capitalism bad, I think they would probably look at you and go, all right, you're gonna need a little bit more than that. But like they showed up, they could have had, my argument is that they could have shown up with really anything, and if it was a well thought out idea, it probably would have got published by them. It doesn't seem like they have a very like narrow-minded critique on what kind of stuff that they're going to invest in. They're willing to invest in something if the design is there. And I bet you like the pitch for Hades probably went equally as interesting. Like someone showed up and said, okay, look, roguelike, but with Greek gods, and you're supposed to die a lot. And someone probably went, okay, all right, sounds pretty good. Like,
I still think that the sort of breaking point happens earlier than showing it to any publisher. It's the pitching inside of the company. It's whoever decided to hire Tim Kaine and Leo Boyarsky, who were the leads for them and were the leads for Fallout 1. It's whoever decided to hire them already had the go ahead from the higher ups being like, okay, but you can't deviate too much because I can't trust that the company's money on that or something. Because you have like both Obsidian was in a situation where all of their games at the time of release of the Outer Worlds was all their recent games were failures they didn't sell very much. Pillars of Eternity 2 didn't break the 500,000 sales until like a year later. And the other one that they released, Tyranny also didn't sell more than, I think it was 300,000. And these are old numbers, so maybe they've been updated. And they had that whole thing with their it wasn't World of Tanks. It was like a competitor to World of Tanks that kept them afloat. There was like this offshoot sort of development for a third company that basically kept the whole company afloat because it was like a contract work for making a game. And all these are super dangerous, risky ventures, making these games for a company like Obsidian. And that's why Microsoft
coming in are like all that's left.
Yeah. But that's why Microsoft coming in and being like and asking them specifically, what games do you want to make? Don't consider budget. What games do you want to make? And those reportedly those were questions that were being asked before, in the interviews that Microsoft made with them before they decided to buy both. Because Microsoft bought both Obsidian and In Exile, who made Wasteland and who made Bard's Tale. So they have two.
And that's a game that feels like it didn't even have a publisher.
Yeah,
I don't think it was published by Microsoft.
It was supposedly published.
Yeah.
Wasteland 3 was published by Microsoft supposedly, but
Was
like
it?
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it was funded by
Well, I
anyone.
think Wasteland 3 was it's sorry.
Wasteland 3
Yeah,
makes me sad. Did you
Wasteland
finish
3
it yet?
definitely feels bad.
What? Sorry?
Did you ever finish your Wasteland 3 series yet?
I did. I finished the DLC as well.
How'd that go?
Also,
it
it
was
wasn't-
DLC. Oh god.
It was not published by Microsoft. It was published by Deep Silver,
Deep Silver. There you go.
who is notoriously known for only publishing the best games. Like,
Oh, wait, is the
The
company
Island
wasn't it the
games.
company was bought by Microsoft?
I think in Exile's case, yes, they were
They're
bought
purchased
by
by
Microsoft.
Microsoft, but the game's not published by Microsoft. That's weird.
Yeah, because they're
So they're not
previous
getting-
deals.
yeah.
They're
Yeah,
older
so,
deals.
like-
yeah.
So Microsoft isn't like directly giving them money to make this game or to publish this game.
So what does Microsoft do?
No. For the new games, that's how it works. Basically, in case of In Exile, there's just a
Did
branch
that game
of
have a
Microsoft
publisher
now.
before Microsoft bought it?
I don't know
yes,
if
that's
Deep
how it
Silver
works.
is.
And that's
Wasteland
why
3 was
Outer
already
Worlds,
that far in production.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
been in development
see-
since 2000, since basically Wasteland 2 came out.
How weird is it that Obsidian now has like a survival multiplayer game with ants?
I don't think
I
they
haven't
are
played it
owned
yet.
by Microsoft.
I want to play that
In
game.
Exile? Are you sure?
Deep Silver.
Oh, Deep
Yeah,
Silver
I don't-
isn't. No.
yeah, I don't
It's an
think
old.
Deep-
It's
No,
sold contracts. You know how it goes.
I don't think Deep Silver's owned by Microsoft. I think
No.
they're just
No one,
yeah.
no one
They're-
thinks
and
Deep
so
Silver
they're-
is owned by Microsoft.
Oh, sorry. You think In Exile's owned
In
by
Exile,
Microsoft.
yeah.
Yeah, which is why
So,
it feels
yeah,
weird that they have a game being published by someone else.
Well, that's probably because again, Microsoft didn't really put much money into it. They put like enough to pay the salaries, and they're like, "All right, if you want like actual work done, you're gonna have to get somebody else to."
It's previous
Pony up.
previous contracts before the acquisition. They just signed contracts when the like marketing starts and all that sort of stuff. And this happens years in advance. The same happened with the Outer Worlds. It wasn't published by Microsoft, even though it was all like the original game was released after Microsoft bought Obsidian, and it was still Private Division publishing it. This is normal. It's just older contracts.
I guess it just
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make ultimately is just that you can't. There comes a point where you can't create good stuff by trying to plot out its profitability. Like at some point you can't. There is no math to figure out why Among Us made as much money as it did. There's not any kind of like crazy statistical bullshit you can pull out of your ass and go like, oh yes, if we just create Among Us but with giant butts, we're gonna make so much money. Like there's no.
It's really
not
fascinating
gonna
how
figure
the
that
industry
out.
simultaneously has like really interesting and exciting new things that come out of nowhere, but also like all the powers that be are just like it's like I talked about the Ouroboros of like Nintendo and an infinite loop of remaking its own games, but it's like an Ouroboros Hydra, which have fun drawing that idea and figuring out how to make that work. But it's like it's not just that the same franchises are being remade at all the time, but on top of being remade, they're having sequels and reboots, and on top of having sequels and reboots, there's like a disgraced original developer that's the real person that made it originally or has some kind of like reputation tied to that particular franchise, and they're making a living separately off of being the spiritual successor of the real version of that franchise, and all three are happening at the same time. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind, because like the idea that there's a Dead Space remake, and I think I read that they're making a Dead Space sequel, but at the same time there's a Dead Space, like the real Dead Space people are making a real Dead Space all at the same fucking time, or like or the weirdness of like how like the disgraced canceled Resident Evil like 2 remake original team then just retooled the remake into like Daybreak 1988 or whatever it's called. So there's like 2 Resident Evil 2 remakes at the same time because one of them's like an off-brand like great value remake, and it's just like infinite looping of wanting the same thing over and over again. It's,
The market is so
it's a thing.
saturated that it really just lends itself to this sort of basically marketing wars at the end of the day. It's not so much about whether the games are good or not.
This is just the Hollywood problem, where you get to a point where you stop making really good stuff and you just start making really safe stuff. And you make things that aren't going to break the bank, but that aren't going to make you multi-billion dollars, which is like, from a business sense, makes sense. You know, like, yeah, sure, just keep pumping out like superhero movies until it basically loses you money. And like, why would you ever stop doing that if it makes you at the very least a net positive? Like, if it makes you a net neutral, and maybe you'll get some positive, bonus from that, then okay, cool. But the moment it makes you lose money, can it throw it away in the trash? Which is fine. But again, like, if you look at someone like EA, they're a little bit unrealistic. They go on like two variables, which is it has to make a certain amount of money and it has to reach a certain Metascore or critic. And like, if it doesn't reach those, like either of those two, it considers it a complete, absolute dumpster failure. Fire everyone involved, take it, throw it in the trash, and then like 20 years later go, have you guys ever seen Dead Space? Like, but again, this isn't gonna work if you just keep doing.
It's so fucking gross to see a company bank so hard on a remake of a game that they themselves deemed unworthy and like ruined themselves and so on. And like, it's like, but then they're like, oh yeah, we're all great fans of Dead Space here, aren't we? Us, the guys that are the reason why it's gone in the first place. You fuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that.
Exactly.
It's like that.
It's so
it's like
infuriating.
That
so farcical.
It is like that.
Yeah.
It's like that meme of the guy wearing the hot dog costume.
And people are reading it out. They're so fucking excited about it. I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
But it is like the meme of the hot dog guy where it's like, I don't know who killed Dead Space, but we're gonna find him. And it's like, guys, like, come on, what is this shit? Who do you think did this? Like, oh man, I can't wait. New Dead Space coming out finally. I've been waiting so long. Why did you wait so long?
It's available.
What could have possibly been the reason that you got a bad Dead Space 3? I don't know.
EA
I guess
trying to pretend they didn't drive the EA car.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't know. We'll never know who was the one who destroyed Dead Space as a franchise. It couldn't have possibly been the people making it again. No, that can't be it. Like, and I don't know, but like I talked about this in Discord too, where I think like nothing tells me a game is garbage than how much publicity a game gets. Like, the more and more, like, Dead Space is being so hyped in this like almost comical size bubble that like the only possible reason for this could only be one thing. This game isn't going to be as good as you want it to be. And you have to like get all, it's like the Cyberpunk thing. You have to get so many people invested early on, because they're like, everyone knows that this isn't going to go well, except for the people who can see how bad it's going. And so from a consumer perspective, we're just like, oh, cool, Dead Space, but in like Xbox X graphics, great. But everyone on the development side is like, oh, this isn't gonna like, all we're doing is we're just doing Dead Space, but like an HD remake, and we're just not saying it's an HD remake, but like, we didn't do anything. This
is gonna be Warcraft 3 all over again.
Yeah. This is just going to be Warcraft 3 all over again, and we're going to hope that no one notices, and we're going to hope nobody cares, and they just don't acknowledge the fact that we've done nothing new or original. Like, I bet you, if anything, they're going to do the stupid Twinkle Twinkle fucking advertisement again, just so that they can like push the button and go like, get it, it's that game you love, get it, yeah, don't you feel that love again?
Your mom
like,
hates the Dead Space remake.
Yeah, right. Like, it's just, but like you said, it's really insidious, because you go back to like
ad campaign.
Yeah, but like it goes back to the thing of like, at the end of the day, who did it? Who done it? Who done the?
It could have been anyone. We'll
like,
never solve the murder of Dead Space.
Yeah, like who done this game dirty? And then you look and you go, huh, that name on the publisher side looks really familiar. And EA, I think I've seen that before. Wasn't that in the? Oh no, like, you just, how do games keep getting supported and again, I don't see the financials for like EA or Ubisoft or Activision, so I don't know how profitable these companies are, or how much they're just like hemorrhaging money like it's made of water. But
I think a lot of them had like a record year, like in 2020 or something.
Which is, but again, it's like, how am I crazy? Am I a crazy person for
EA
like
Sports.
looking at these
EA
games
Sports
and going like,
brutal.
is this really a good game? Do you people really like this? Is this, am I like, I get that's like nothing's made for me, but there's a difference between going to a restaurant and going like, oh no, I don't think that like, macaroni salad's made for me, versus like, okay, that's literally just dog shit on the menu and no one's talking about this. All right, you're just gonna let that be there. Like you're just gonna let these people sell dog shit. Okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna. All right, fine. Like, how do you look at a Call of Duty every year and go like, ah, yes, finally, mwah, some real food. like it's just, it's bad, but it keeps being good enough to make another one. And obviously it's not hurting them, because I've seen games that are interesting ideas but don't financially make it, and they just get thrown in the dumpster like it was a mistake to ever even think about it.
I'm just amazed at this point that AAA publishers' decisions are so consistently poor that it's just an advertising thing now to like advertise that they're not going to do the thing from before, or like they have like apology advertisements. Like the what is it, Jedi Fallen Order and Dead Space's remake are both specifically advertised about how the EA behaviors that won't happen this time, like microtransactions and things. Like there's just an apology as like a bullet point. It might as well be on the fucking box, basically. Like that's part of the advertising strategy, is just like preemptively saying, we're not going to do those EA things, we swear, until this game's successful, and then we do it in the sequel. And it's like,
yeah,
it's straight up there with like, oh, we made another really bad fucking BioWare game. Well, the next one will totally have Casey Hudson or whoever the fuck name we can try it out this time to say that the sequel will be good this time. We swear. Like, they do it over and over again. I've seen fucking, I swear BioWare has literally been like, oh, but we're bringing back the guy like 4 times now for different sequels. Like, we swear it'll be good this time. We brought back the guy that wrote the first 1.5 Mass Effects or something.
That's an evolution of the old strategy of you buy this game that is a spin-off of the game that you really want to see, so that we can make the game that you really want to see. Back when it was all about, the rage was all about going from like top-down games into action games, 3D and stuff like that. Now these days it's just a lot more farcical, even, honestly, because it was always a lie, and it is a lie now.
It's really funny too when you look at I remember during the press release for like the new Dead Space, one of the big bullet points was like, no microtransactions. And my first thought was, I'm sorry, was that like was that a possibility? Because the first Dead Space didn't even like have a whiff of microtransactions.
Oh, it's a super weird thing to say when you're remaking a game that didn't have any.
Yeah. Like it almost sounds, it's, again, it's like
I wasn't thinking about microtransactions before, but I am now.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like you walk into a room and someone says like, "Oh, good thing Bill doesn't have a gun." You're like, "Is that?"
It's like how the remake of Demon's Souls
have a gun? Like,
had items that were exclusive to the pre-order.
Yeah,
so they added pre-order bonuses to the remake of Demon's Souls, a game that didn't have that stuff. It's like, oh wow, look, it's worse now.
And but it's alarming because when you say that, like, especially when you have to specifically say that in a marketing sense, like, there's no microtransaction, you go like, okay, so when is there? It like you say there's none, but I'm only believing you up until the point of release. So when is it going to happen, and why is it going? Like, where could you possibly stick microtransactions in Dead Space? And I don't kind of want to know the answer, but I'm also very curious as to why you think Dead Space needs microtransactions. Like, it's, and again, but then at the end of the day, again, we go all the way back and we say, wow, that's cool, it's a bullet point, no microtransactions. Why do they have to say that? Why maybe there's like maybe we should just stop letting a company that does this consistently exist. Like, maybe we should stop letting EA make games, and then they have to tell us they're not going to make games with that EA flavor anymore. Because we know it's one, a lie, flavor. But we all, but yeah, like how else do you describe an EA game? An EA game is a game that, EA game is a game that is made with what feels like a shoestring budget on the backs and labor of hundreds of people who I just am going to assume are dead until proven otherwise. And the game also has to have some kind of insidious, like, always on system. So either a microtransaction or some kind of like level up system that's connected to EA servers, and that gives you some kind of like funny money currency that you use to like
passes. Remember those?
Yeah, or like a pass, or like there's like EA always
if you
has
buy this
some
game
way
used,
to make.
You have to pay a $10 DLC to access the full features.
Yeah, they're like an EA game is a game where you pay $60 for it, but it costs you $120 to actually have the full thing. And like it's weird that still keeps being true. Like they never stop doing that. Like you buy any EA sports game and it's literally just like, hey, how can we mix Magic the Gathering and sports? And you just like have to take a step back, like stand up, look around and go, I'm sorry, people buy this every year? And this is like normal to you people? Like you just think it's okay to start a game up and it says, hey, by the way, you want to play multiplayer? I hope you like are willing to pay money for trading cards. And you're like, I'm sorry.
It's shocking if you're not used to seeing that. It is.
Halo 2 came out like 20 years ago. No, more like 15 years ago. 15 years ago. And it had an online system and it didn't and it had customization and it didn't require anything out of you but like leveling up by playing more. That was it. You just keep playing the game and you get costumes, but the costumes didn't matter. They didn't do anything. They're just like dumb little cosmetic things to make your head look like a ninja. And like that's about it. You could buy a DLC map, but it didn't matter because you could still play the game without that DLC map. And actually, if you just waited long enough, they just give it to you for free. Because they eventually got to a point where like, now we got new DLC, and so now the old one doesn't matter anymore. And like,
we will always be a broken record of just like going back and like praising how cool the Halo 2's online DLC system was.
How the hell did you go from Halo 2 going like, I don't know, it's kind of weird that we're paying like, you know, maybe $10 for 2 maps. It's a little pricey. I don't know. To, hey, how about we invest like $500 into a video game so we could build the exact or arsenal of people we want just so we can win a fake fictional game against people that are like 10 years old. What? Like
Naughty Dog used to just make a new franchise every 5 years.
No, because they haven't made a new franchise in 5 years. I don't know.
Things just got really
when Rockstar
boring.
made games?
Every major company. Oh god, yeah. Yeah,
what was the last Rockstar
Skyrim and
game?
GTA 5,
Red Dead 2,
we're both in this fucking tailspin of chasing one thing forever, and it's like, how do we make more money out of the thing we already made forever? But yeah, like every significant company just chases its tail forever. Like it was nice that Overwatch happened, I guess, but Blizzard is just endlessly remaking its old games or planning the sequels. When's the next Diablo and so on. And it's like, I don't know, you could like create things instead. That'd be fun. Because yeah, every major company, it's like, we're just gonna go make the 6th one in this franchise. Like now Kratos is a dad.
I just feel bad for I feel bad for like a game designer in a modern era. Like this probably was it was less fun. It was less fun in the past just because they treated you a lot worse. Like maybe, I don't know. I can't really say for sure, but I imagine like they probably had a lot less treatment than they do now. But you also at least had like insane projects. Like someone would probably walk up to you and be like, all right, man, we're making a Goof Troop game for the Super Nintendo, and it's got to be way different than the Goof Troop game for the Sega Genesis, because that thing's a fucking piece of shit, and we ain't going to be able to fit all the stuff on it. And so, like, which team do you want to be on? The dog shit team or the kind of okay team? And, like, you got to choose, I don't know, fuck, I'll take the dog shit team. Let's see how this goes. Like, but it's like, and then next week, it's like, all right, that Goof Troop thing kind of worked out. So now we're going to do MLB Pro, and hope you know how baseball works. And you're like, all right, let's do it. But like nowadays, it's like, all right, man.
I guess like these companies died, but I just think about how sad it was. Like once upon a time, like it'd be like you look at the developers of like Deus Ex and like Anachronox or even like Rareware on the 64, like they were just fucking making 3 different entire IPs per year, and most of them didn't get sequels. They just like, this is what we're doing. Here comes Blast Core, here comes Perfect Dark, here comes Jet Force Gemini. Let's fucking go. Conker's Bad Fur
because
Day.
You had to. That was the crazy thing. Like you had to keep, because like no one wanted, everybody everybody agreed that a sequel was like a thing that only was reserved for the best of the best. Like if your game sold an exponentially high amount of like copies, okay, let's do another one. I think people like that. But otherwise, it was a rush to find gold. So you got to keep making new shit every single day until you find that gold nugget. And that's why my argument was like, now you just like superficially make gold. You say Call of Duty isn't probably a gold mine, but you could add enough stuff into it to make money out of it. Like, what if we told you can get kawaii anime girls on your gun? It's only going to cost you like the cost of an indie game, but you know, it's okay, guys.
Yeah,
like
basically.
$20. What does that even mean when you can play a game where you can kill people with an anime gun? Wouldn't that be fun? And like, what? Like you said, like Rare came out with 7 different game franchises in the course of the development cycle for one Call of Duty game. And you're just like, I don't know what happened, but there's been a systemic failure in this industry because like how do we have like the 8th Call of Duty game, but we only got like 2 Perfect Dark games? Like what happened?
The problem, I think World of Warcraft happened.
I don't know. No, what happened was that all the publishers got bought up by all the bigger publishers, and then it became this like pseudo monopoly where you go like, okay, there's only like 6 big boys, and everyone else that kind of exists gets to make one game, and either it does well and they get bought up by one of the big boys, or it does horribly and they get bought up by one of the lower end of the big boys who just kind of like want to take 2 or 3 people from the company and then just can the rest of them, but like, you know, you still get to go to a big boy company at the end of the day. Like it's weird. I don't know. Like you just,
like what I'm saying about World of Warcraft.
Did Obsidian need to get bought? Like did Obsidian really need to get bought? I think Obsidian was doing pretty good, right? Like they.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they weren't making.
They weren't
multi-billion dollars. Yeah, but they weren't going bankrupt. Yeah. But you know, they made a really good game once.
They made new franchises. They had.
But
yeah. Absolutely.
Like, but why? Yeah, but then why did they need to get bought? Well, because it's probably cheaper. It's probably more affordable.
It probably was a good deal though. Like all things considered, Microsoft bought like 6 studios in a single year.
And I don't know like what again, this all comes down to investment. So there is a board of directors, and that board of directors is saying like, oh, Microsoft's gonna pay like $1 billion for us? I'm fucking out of here. Sell this fucking shit, right? Fire.
Yeah.
And you know, the moment you get your little payout, you just like trot along onto the next dumb little studio and be like, I'm just gonna go do this investment again. But
no,
like,
they probably just retire because these are old people by now. Like Fergus acquired, and I think it's still part of the studio, but Obsidian has been around since 2004.
That seems so sad to like think about the fact that you get like companies get like basically 2 to 3 shots to make anything that will set them apart from the rest of the industry, and either they make enough to survive.
You either completely crash and burn, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and that you will now make that one thing forever, and that's all you do now.
But like and then you have
it's like being
weird
a YouTuber.
Studios, but then you have weird like offshoot studios like Double Fine, which like somehow managed to keep itself afloat for like
they did.
No, Microsoft owns them.
Failed continuously.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like somehow they like kept continually failing upwards.
No,
even though like no, you don't think so? They kept like releasing games, and they were
such a shit show almost the entire time they've existed.
I guess that's true, but
remember
they never would
you and me and Marty playing their fucking space management game, which was a Kickstarter they just abandoned. One day they were just like, you know what, fuck it, this is the 1.0. We're never gonna talk about this again. We're just gonna stop developing this failure of a game. Like that's
Jesus.
Or like how they had the largest Kickstarter ever for their adventure game, and then they still had to be like, fuck, and just like release half of it, and then use the sales of the first half to fund making the second half. Like they fucked up so many times, and even games that they're famous for, like Psychonauts, were like commercial failures. Like they've been a mess from like all along. Their golden age probably was when they were making like $10 indie games every year.
Probably, but my point is like they somehow survived with those failures longer than most studios that survive with successes. Like it was weird how long Double Fine just didn't get bought by anybody, and maybe that's because like anybody probably looked at their financials and was like, Jesus Christ, how do you like hemorrhage more money than exists on the planet Earth? Like wasn't there like, remember there was like an article about like, oh, I want to make Psychonauts 2, but it's going to cost like $40 billion.
Oh yeah, and like
what the fuck?
Like there was the time that Notch came in and was like, I'll make Psychonauts 2, and then that quietly got never mentioned again.
Yeah, because like apparently the cost of making it was so
because nobody actually wants to work with Tim Schafer.
That's probably true.
Is he the head of Psychonauts 2?
No,
I assume so. Tim Schafer's just like the Double Fine guy, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, he's the director. Zach McKeldon.
It always seems like just the way that he runs things is fundamentally like something is wrong under the hood in like a Peter Molyneux sort of way. And whenever somebody gets a look under the hood, they quietly distance themselves from the project.
Yeah, he is basically like just a snake oil salesman. And he continues to like survive, even though he definitely should have gotten like his company should have been like boarded up and shot into space like decades ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure I wouldn't call him like a con man or anything like a snake oil salesman, but I think
he is just kind of a con man.
It's every time it comes up, it always seems like there's just something wrong with how he runs his business. And I know this will sound weird now, because now it's like, oh wow, Psychonauts 2 came out and it's his best game he's ever made, and like people are ranting and raving about it. So any naysaying about Tim Schafer will sound weird right now, but like he has such a bizarre legacy of running a company, and it's never seemed to work out.
Let's not be generous here. Tim Schafer isn't the reason Psychonauts 2 succeeded. Microsoft is the reason Psychonauts 2 succeeded.
Did Microsoft
I guarantee you. Microsoft bought Double Fine. Yeah. And so I guarantee you that they showed up and were like, look, dude, I'm going to be real with you. This is the money you get. You need any more? You're going to have to start pedaling on the street. But like, you're going to make Psychonauts 2. It's going to cost this much money to make it. It's going exclusively on Xbox. See you in 2 years. YOLO. And like, I bet he just was like, all right, guys, this is the budget. Guess we're not going to be able to make it like, make you smell Psychonauts in like 3 dimensions or whatever the fuck he thought the budget needed to be that big for. Like, I can't imagine what you can need $1 billion for to make a Psychonauts game, but whatever. Anyways, I bet you is because he was like confined to a box, and he was forced to create this game within like some kind of budgetary confine, or else that's it. His company's going under. They haven't released anything since fucking Broken Age. Like, what are they gonna? What does that company do?
They released stuff since Broken Age. Like, well, like that space game they didn't finish, but also Massive Chalice and other stuff like that.
But like, I don't
remember. But they're all incomplete projects. Like, really consistently, if something goes wrong, and they kept having Kickstarter games after Broken Age, but were getting increasingly like borderline fraudulent because they kept overpromising and not being able to make them within the constraints of what they were hoping for.
So yeah, like messy. looking at the games that they had since. Like what? So last year was Rad, which,
by the way, just so we're clear, because someone will always take it really literally, he does not literally mean $1 billion.
No, it's not $1 billion. No, he said
14 million.
People always take things completely literally and then get mad about it. And like, that's your problem. You're doing that.
Yeah, it was like between $10 to $13 million for Psychonauts 2,
and
which
is
a
like, reasonable budget, honestly.
Is it? It's a reasonable budget.
I think if you have like an ideal game in your head and you have a sequel in your head, like you know what you want to do, and then you estimate more or less having 50 to 100 people working on it over the course of 2 years or something like that, and then you need to account for, all the bureaucracy that comes after having all those people. That's a reasonable budget. Yeah, that's not.
But remember, this is by like one person funding that. Like $13 million from one person is a lot to ask.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Could you imagine like that? And that's the problem I'm saying is like he literally all he could do is just knock. Hey, can you give me $13 million? People are like, no, we're not going to just give you that. Like, and I imagine the Microsoft deal was not that easy. I imagine it wasn't that simple. I imagine it was a lot. Like, again, it had to have had constraints on it. That budget has to have been way overinflated. There's no way that he's like, I need $13 million to make Psychonauts 2. Possible. Like, come on, man. Like, maybe, and again, maybe this is also because you're asking for budget for something with no, like, you have nothing to show for it. I can't imagine they like, what did they make Psychonauts 2 in the Psychonauts 1 engine? It was like, okay, here's the entire thing.
I don't think $13 million is as much money as you think it is. Like for game development,
I think it's
a modern
lot
like
of money.
3D game. Like that's what games kind of cost. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. We had a similar conversation about or argument back in the day about the Double Fine Kickstarter, where you were like indignant about the idea that they could ever spend that much money on an adventure game, and it's like games cost way more than you think. That you got to pay a staff, like that adds up so fast.
And I understand that. I guess my point is I am assuming that money isn't accounting for staff payments. Like,
no, of course it is. That's the budget. It's not materials. It's a digital product.
Yeah,
well, but that's what I'm saying is like if it's all staff, then like, god damn, that seems
you got to run a company.
That seems like a lot of staff.
No, it is.
A huge amount of the budget of a game is just I'm gonna pay these many people for this long, basically.
Quick math: 50 people earning 100,000 a year are 5 million a year.
100,000 a year. That seems a little much.
Do you think it's much? I don't. I'm just saying.
100,000 is a lot of money.
Okay.
That's
so
like a higher. That's like a 3-level management budget. Like I would imagine the average developer's making like. I would imagine the average developer's like 60 to 70.
60. Let's go with lowball because it's the gaming industry after all. 60. That times 50. That's 50 people working on a game. That's 3 million. And it's 3 million a year, right?
Was that per year?
So it's per year, right?
And no remember, a lot of this.
No games done in a year. So times 2, and then you probably double this easily just on the money you pay for offices and contractors.
Oh yeah, you have the property, you have licenses, you have voice actors.
Yeah, but let's just say that you don't double it. Just 1.5. Just add.
You got to get that has-been hotel money.
That's 9 million already for 2 years of development, and 2 years of development
voice actors, of course, very hard to get back for Rasputin.
So
given
that's
that he's
for the core
YouTube
team.
videos.
50 people is core team. We're talking like usually you go above that because 50 is really small for modern day.
So then what is 14 a low ball? Like
it probably is. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I mean,
I don't know. Like this just then this
it's different.
Then
but
like how is $14 million so difficult that they couldn't get anybody to do this if this seems like a standard?
Well, he just has a history of all of his games making less money than they cost, basically.
Because you can't convince the publishers. You can just have the best price. You can have the best idea. You can have the best team. If you can't convince the people with the money, then you don't get the money. And that's why
the people that have the money are asking, "How is this going to be the next Fortnite?" Yeah. No, then why am I answering this phone call? We're not going to have a meeting. What? Go away.
That's
the reaction to Tim Schafer
for the longest time. For the longest time,
like
the indie games had problems because of that. You're correct. I think you're correct. It's the opposite. You should be looking at You should be looking at the gold digging thing. If you have money, just invest in a lot of small studios instead of investing in a big one, because otherwise you get things like what Eidos is doing.
Both the movie industry and the games industry have a problem where both of them are only interested in making super mega ultra projects. Like how that one company like Universal could have just made a bunch of monster movies with reasonable budgets and they would have turned back a profit, but instead they're like, no, it has to be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the fucking Hollywood horror monster cinematic universe, and they made the Mummy movie and then gave up because it didn't work out.
I'm wondering, like, would you have made more money investing in small studios? Like, if you took all of your money and
I wish all of movies was like Blumhouse Studio.
Yeah, like if you took all of your money and invested into small random indie shit, like I think they even have a website for this specifically. Like the Golf with Your Friends game was on it.
Yeah, like why can't all of video games be Devolver?
Yeah, why isn't every publisher like that, where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna look at 15 different really small crazy ideas.
Let me go back.
I'm gonna invest in those, and one of them is gonna turn a massive profit, right?
Let me go back. But you're on the point though, Andrew. Let me go back to what I said. World of Warcraft happened and ruined everything, because what you just said is one of them is going to make you $1 million, or it's going to make you a bunch of money. But for that to happen, you need to be making things like World of Warcraft. You need to be making things with recurrent user spending and engagement and whatnot. And that's why they all suck. Yeah, because if you're fishing, you need to fish with the what's the word? For the thing?
You need to chum the water. You need bait or whatever.
You can't look into having a game like World of Warcraft that lasts for 2 decades, gaining you millions and millions every year, if you don't make games like that. If you're going to be making Psychonaut-like games, you're not going to look into having one of them be World of Warcraft, right? You need to be...
Yes.
Right? It's just... yeah. And that's why that's why it changed the industry into the publishers not... It's not that the publishers don't think that they can make money, it's that they don't think they can make as much money as they want. And so they instead of them fishing with indie games like Papa the Rapper or Tony Hawk Pro Skater or stuff like that, instead of them making weird games like that, they make weird games like Marvel Avengers and whatever crap BioWare is up to these days, and Fallout 76. That's what they do, because they're fishing with the tools that they have, and the tools are predatory. Yeah, I don't know. What's the name?
I'm just thinking, like, Daddy. How much money would you have made? How much money would you have made if you invested? Like, and I get it. There are, obviously you can never know which game is going to be a gold mine, but like, I imagine if your investments are diverse enough, just like you would with a normal stock portfolio, you wouldn't just want to put all your money into Tesla and hope it does well. Like, you would want to presumably invest into multiple smaller companies and watch as their profits slowly climb. And as that happens, you're like, oh, I'm making a lot of money over a lot of assets. And like, but then there are some times where you're like, oh, I put 100,000 into this and this and this and this, and one of those just shoots up the roof, and you're like, oh shit, what happened to that one? And you see it just like climb immensely, and you're like, okay, well, that one made a huge solid profit. Like, could you imagine the guy who's like, I invested in 15 games, put like 15,000 in each of them, and one of them turned out to be Undertale, and like, you did it, you succeeded, like, holy shit, your money just got tripled. Or like Cuphead. You're like, oops, I invested into the Cuphead thing, and fuck, that's doing well. What happened in fucking Netflix movie? Oh, I'm making so much. Like
yeah, it's like how Blumhouse puts out this fuck ton of movies every year, but then every now and then they get an Invisible Man or a Get Out or a Purge, and then it's like, oh, well, there's our money. There it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and then you look back and you like say like, well, how much money are you really making as a return investment on like Call of Duty 8? Like, how much money do you have to put in to actually make a profit?
So much money.
But are they? But that's the thing, is like, how many people are already investing into that product as well?
It's running on a shoestring. They make those games on a shoestring already.
But that doesn't mean you're going to make an increased amount of profit in return, because they're running on shoestring, because the overhead cost is so stupidly fucking high for these companies. I see what you mean. Like, so you're investing, like, you have to get so many investors to make a Call of Duty game, that by the time that you're making the profit back, that's why it's shoestring, is because the money is just being like, the small dividends are being sent to all these people, and I can't imagine they're making enough.
At that point, the profit doesn't come from the company; it comes from just owning shares. That's when the company the share price becomes detached from actual profitability. This happens all over the industry. It just becomes
a weird, like, imagined concept.
It happens with a lot of industries, not just gaming, but it definitely happens with Activision and BioWare and not BioWare, sorry, Blizzard and EA, where it doesn't matter that the game makes money. What matters is that the shares go up and the people with the shares make money. That's how the company makes money. Is the people with the shares make money, they're making money. Because the higher ups have shares. The company itself has shares. It's all what's the saying? It's all co-cheese. No, that's not the saying.
What?
It's kosher.
Kosher, that's the one.
It's all goat cheese.
Goat cheese is a Wasteland reference. I got Wasteland.
It's all Gucci. It's all Gucci.
Yeah, Gucci. That's the one.
It's all Gucci.
It's all Gucci. That's what I wanted. Kosher isn't that a Jewish thing? Isn't that like food?
But people just say it about shit sometimes.
I meant Gucci. Yeah,
I mean, they're not talking about salt or whatever. They'll just say it about random shit sometimes.
Yeah, so that's why it doesn't make sense. But when you really dig into it, it's just rotten. It's rotten. It's freaking rotten because it's not connected to anything in the first place. They're not trying to make money, and they screw up the games in the process of not actually making money, just basically scamming investors, really. Because
once you get to the shareholder stuff, I'm like, wow, this is all just made up, huh?
Yeah,
I guess
imaginary shit.
I guess the argument I'm making is like, why are you wasting your time investing money into Call of Duty when it's probably more likely you will strike gold investing into indie? Like the amount of money that I would imagine have access to is going to be, again, this is like, why would you invest into a big name stock? Even if you have the money, why would you invest into it if the return on investment won't be nearly as because again, investment at its core, investment is just gambling for really, really rich people who don't want to go to an stinky museum, like casino with stinky poor people. You want to like do it in a nice, rich environment like a computer. And so the idea is that you want to take
your employee's computer because you're not the one actually managing anything.
Well,
you just pay somebody to make them.
It's not even your employee. Technically, you're doing it with some like financial institution that's doing it all for you.
It's even worse.
But the point is that you're investing money in a different location because this is the better way to gamble for rich people. And so if you're already gambling anyways, why not just do the heart of the gamble? This is like going to a horse race and betting on the horse you know is going to win. And it's like, okay, well, you're not going to make much money because everyone knows it's going to win, so they're all betting on it. But like, I guess you can do that. But you know, like, why wouldn't you just bet on like the rare chance? Like, I guess because
you can't control it.
Well, yeah, because you can't control it. You don't know it's going to be successful. But again, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of gambling is that you're supposed to.
But it's not the point. You're supposed to. It's like it's just you get to a point when you have so much money that basically you can't not make more money. It's just impossible to lose money because it's all it's risk management. You know, and not in the sense that it's very unlikely that you'll lose money. It's in the sense that the only way you're going to lose money if there's an overall crash of the economy. And 2008 has shown that not even with an overall crash of the economy will you actually lose money unless you go to prison. And because they're never going to prison because, well, maybe they are. Either way, maybe they are. But yeah, that's the only way they'll lose money is if they go to prison. That's the situation that we're in. So you get to a point where you have that much money. There's no reason gambling. It's not a gamble. It's not. It is you're right in saying that the stock market is gambling for rich people. It is, but when you own companies and you own things, you own so much money that you actually your decisions affect companies like Microsoft and EA, then it isn't a gamble. It's just par for the course. Is instead of the only gamble is this year I only made 3 billion instead of maybe not billion, I don't know, probably billion as well, but okay, 100 million, I only made 100 million instead of 200 or something like that. That's the gamble that they're making.
It's just I get it. Again, at the end of the day, I understand the entire I understand how capitalism works. I understand how investment works. I understand that the goal is not to strike it rich. The goal is to maintain wealth over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so the best way to do that is investing in things that you know will not fail or lose you money. And so again, you just end up investing into really stable products. But again, also, this is usually what you end up doing is creating a market that doesn't really make you money, except in like a very loose sense. Like you're making some money, but that's only because you have enough money to invest in multiple different products that all are stable enough. But it's not like it's not like you're making the amount of money. I guess what I'm trying to say is
people make the mistake where they're not planting trees. But for IPs, they're harvesting what exists endlessly while forgetting that they got there by making things in the first place instead of just repeating the same thing forever.
Yeah, like that. To me, the idea here is that all you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up
like deforesting.
Yeah, you're just you're going to end up removing a source of revenue because you didn't want to invest. You didn't want to actually invest into that source of revenue. Like it just paying people to harvest like fruit off of trees isn't going to keep fruit growing. Like that's not how this works. Like if you want to keep harvesting these fruits, you have to keep having trees to harvest from. And eventually the fruit runs out. And then what are you going to do? There's no more trees because you didn't want to fucking invest in trees. And it's like, okay, so just take some of that profit and invest in trees. Like just start invest. I don't know. Just
well, there's no incentive behind that, and in fact,
the incentive should be because you want to make more
money.
There's
an incentive, but it's like a global warming style incentive, where it's a very long-term problem that they won't realize what went wrong until it's too late.
Yeah, this feels almost like you're burning the candle at two ends, and you're hoping that one end is burning a lot slower than the other, but it's not. It's inverse to what you think it is.
Franchise
and there's like
fatigue, and you just kind of try to ignore it forever.
Yeah, it's like I see it going to a point where like you're, constantly as time goes by, the more the time goes by, these bigger and bigger franchises are having less and less draw, and people are more and more interested in unique or different franchises. They're more like the big money isn't going to be in making like the third or seventh installment of anything. It's going to be someone saying like, "Hey, someone made that thing you really like. But without all this hoobabaloo that you hate," and they go like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I'll give it a shot." And like, "Oh, it's affordable. It's not even as costly as the thing that I like playing. Oh, okay, well maybe I'll give that a shot." And like, eventually, it's gonna, there will come a point where like it becomes so, just like everything else has been in capitalism, I guess, is just like it becomes such a homogeny of like, oh, there's only the big players, and that's only where you can buy stuff from, and they all own all the stuff. And eventually you get these watered down, really boring products that you end up like resenting, and maybe like not, or it's even, you resent them. Huh?
It's even, to use like Colonel's example of World of Warcraft, like it's known as being this big money maker, and a billion other, I'm using the number again facetiously, but like all these different other companies tried to make like lookalikes essentially, and like crashed and failed over and over again for like a decade straight. There were so many people trying to make their own World of Warcraft because it was doing so well. Nowadays, World of Warcraft ain't actually doing that hot. Like it's still around, but its numbers have been just plummeting from expansion to expansion for many years now. And it basically, the reason it still exists in the form it does at all is because like it's got the issue going on of like being if you're a Minecraft YouTuber, you're like, well, if Minecraft's going down in popularity, I guess I'm going down with the ship because that's my entire audience and they won't watch anything else. But where you're like, if you make anything that's not Minecraft, the views are plummeting and it doesn't seem viable. But also in the long term, those Minecraft views keep going down. So like that Minecraft YouTuber really got to keep making more risks regardless and so on. And like, yeah, like
they keep going down. I think Minecraft, I can see us being old people and Minecraft still being around.
Well, Minecraft took off again, but for a long time Minecraft was getting worse. Or if you want to go like Call of Duty YouTuber, like there's a lot of like ex Call of Duty YouTubers now, because Call of Duty YouTube just got way less popular over time. And it's like, you have this messy thing where like if you're someone, or even like Durf does like those like scrap mechanic videos, and that's like extra like risky. Like you're tying to one indie game that's a particular bubble of audience that like will have like a tapering off and so on. And so like you have this conflict of feedback where like on one hand your views as the thing dies down will continue to trend down. But every time you experiment and do something outside of that territory, that thing will do way worse. But you kind of need to keep like poking out into different directions until something does like actually catch fire. Because if you take the feedback of those things doing bad to think, oh well, I just won't do the things that do bad ever. I'll just stick to the one thing that does well forever. That forever will cease to be a thing that will exist anymore. Like there just won't be a forever anymore. So you will have failed to experiment to keep your company afloat, and then just silently watched as it went down with the ship the whole time, like which you saw happening. But
it's the golden
feedback
eggs
isn't there.
Chicken.
You need long-term incentive like viewpoints. Like you can't just look at what'll happen in that month. You have to look at the long term, or you're just fucked.
it's the golden eggs chicken, but more connected to, if you take her eggs, she just stops laying. So it's better to, because the thing is, I think maybe I'm wrong, but even big channels that focused exclusively on Minecraft, some big channels have been able to pitch in toward other things, and they get views if they get big enough. If you get to a point where it is actually a golden eggs chicken, it's I don't know. I think because it's a tool. You get, like, even if you get fewer people watching a video, watching a series, or, you know, drastically fewer people, you can still pivot your channel in
like
a way
such a
that
critical mass. Like, someone will play it, someone will watch it.
Yeah.
But the issue is that people get the feedback. If they care about the stats, they constantly get the feedback of, like, oh, if I do anything else, it does way worse, and that encourages them to stop doing that. And that's the same thing that happens with with people that make movies and people that make games, is that they are afraid to branch out into other projects because they see the numbers be lower. It's like, well, obviously, then I'll just do the thing that makes the numbers higher. But then they ignore the fact that the numbers for the higher thing are also just continually tapering off from year to year. Mm-hmm. And then they get into a corner where it's like, what do we do? We're the World of Warcraft company, but World of Warcraft's been doing worse every year. And they can only think within the box of how to retool World of Warcraft to get more people to play it forever, like 15 years after it came out, as opposed to thinking in terms of going somewhere else.
And
that's the loop that a lot of these franchises
World of Warcraft, though?
I don't know.
I suppose they're just recycling old customers. They're just like, I might as well play a little bit.
Yeah, you just keep, like, sparking their interest with this or that thing again. There's a whole thing with World of Warcraft where it's this increasingly masturbatory feedback loop of, like, cameos and, like, known characters coming back over and over again, and they've had, like, they keep coming up with excuses to, like, revisit old things over and over again. Like, I know that Legion brought back Illidan, which was the boss of the first expansion, and they just brought him back again. Like, they brought back Black Temple. Like, they find reasons to just bring back previous entire dungeons. Like, Naxxramas was the original tier 3, and they had a whole thing with Naxxramas, I think, recently, to the point where now what was really silly is that, like, they had Draenor, which was an expansion that was just an alternate timeline version of Burning Crusade. So it was the same setting as the first expansion, but a different timeline with, like, the Power Rangers orcs that are all evil or whatever. It's like a different timeline where they didn't do the thing that was the original sin thing that created the orcs or whatever in the WoW timeline. I'm not very good at the WoW lore. But like, the current expansion, Shadowlands, is just the afterlife. So now they're just bringing back all the dead people, and you're fighting them all again in various contexts, or encountering them in different reasons. So it's just an expansion that's just it's like the 4 circles of hell, essentially, or the 4 different, like, realms of the afterlife.
Yeah.
And all your favorite characters are somewhere in there, and they'll have a whole cutscene dedicated to re-killing, like, a bear that you cared about once if you were paying attention, and, like, all these various, like, it starts off with, like, breaking a relic that was, like, the Lich King's helm, and it's like, I remember the Lich King, and, like, it's just reference after reference after reference, and it's like, while all trying to have this big climactic showdown about, like, these multi-expansion storylines, but also bringing back every character that's ever happened. And it's just like, it is a lot. It is a lot. The expansion starts with you personally hanging out with all the most important people of the World of Warcraft franchise as they all get kidnapped one by one, and then you have to go save them one by one, and like, along the way you'll encounter the ghosts of every character you've ever heard of. And it's just like, at some point, like, it's like really desperate. Like, it's particularly frustrating because, like, there was, like, a lack of new things problem with the Warcraft universe, where they were like, this is all an adaptation of an RTS franchise, which at this point you can safely assume most people haven't played, but for some reason they felt really beholden to that stuff. So each expansion was about, like, what thing can we bring back from World of Warcraft? It's like, okay, so World of Warcraft's villain,
you mean?
Warcraft 3's villain was Illidan, right? So we'll have a whole expansion where we fight Illidan. Okay, that's the first expansion's boss. Okay, so the expansion for Warcraft 3 was Arthas. So Arthas is back. Now you fight Arthas. He's the boss of the second expansion. Like, it was just expansion after expansion was like all tying back into this RTS over and over again and its storyline. And it's like, well, first of all, WoW was so popular, it has eclipsed the RTS it's based on in the first place. But also, like, at some point, this universe, you've been doing this for years. You can make new things for once. So to have them be recycling things from the RTS for multiple expansions, and then have an entire arc where they then bring those things back again, and now they're having an arc where it's the afterlife, and all those guys are back again for a third time in many cases. It's like, oh my god, here's Kel'Thuzad again. He's another. The current raid has Kel'Thuzad, and I don't really remember where he's from, but I remember that name. I'm pretty sure that he's been fought before. It's really hard to care about the story of WoW, and Warcraft in general, because it's so fucking comic book convoluted at this point, so I can't remember any of it anymore. But all I know is that I'm constantly seeing names I've definitely seen before, and we're fighting them again, and it's like, cool, all right, here we go.
Yeah, there does come a point where WoW will suffocate from its own self. Like,
and it's a microcosm of what we've been talking about this whole podcast, where like, instead of making new and exciting things, they're endlessly trying to trot out old names and iconography in front of your face over and over again to increasingly diminishing returns, and not really getting why it doesn't work. Like, it's the last hour and a half of this podcast, but in one game. Like, its own feedback loop is just recycling things and not getting why people are getting bored more and more over time.
Which maybe because it's hard for me to know, because I'm not the target demographic, and I'm also not involved with like anything to do with WoW. I have no idea how it's built, how it's funded, how it's whatever. Like, is there somebody knocking on the door and like, hey, I haven't seen Illidan in 6 years. Where the fuck is he? Like, is someone, is there like some guy in the higher level management?
Now.
Like,
I think he's fighting people in space. Like, he's
probably
like he's the Green Lantern.
But like, is there someone like in the higher up in WoW, like coming, like barreling through the cubicles? Like, I swear to fucking God, if I don't see fucking this character in the next expansion, I'm gonna lose it. And someone's like, isn't that guy dead? Didn't we kill him like 6 expansions ago? It's like, I don't give a shit. Bring him back. Like, who is sitting here and writing the syllabus for the next expansion? And it's like, all right, boys, I hope you remember the first and the third expansion, because they're really important. But also, we're going to bring stuff back from like the 5th expansion, but only kind of minorly. And also, we're going to talk like about what happened between the 4th and 3rd expansion, but like just tangentially. It's like a reference. People are going to laugh about it, blah, blah, blah.
And it falls so flat as storytelling if you haven't been like watching the 23 Marvel movies that have happened in the meantime. Like, it's like Endgame shit, where like the current expansion opens with Bolivar, like, and like it's like Sylvanas fights Bolivar and breaks Illidan's helm, which shatters the sky for some reason, and that's bad, I guess. And then Bolivar has you slowly drag the fragments of Illidan's of Arthas's helm together to enter the afterlife. And this whole time I'm like, who the fuck is Bolivar? I don't know who you are. I didn't play Wrath of the Lich King or whatever Bolivar is from, so I just don't know what's happening and who I'm talking to, and I'm just sad that the Tauren guy's been like getting tortured and dropped off a cliff.
And maybe he is new. Maybe he's brand new content. Like, some of these races are brand new content, but
you don't know when it's a Mr. Poopy Butthole. Like, when is it like a situation where like everyone's just acting like we all know this guy, but he's actually brand new, like Mr. Poopy Butthole, or fucking the villain of Resident Evil 6 that they act like as a character but you've never heard of them before, or like when that one old guy shows up in Half-Life 2 episode 2 and everyone just knows him and you're like, I don't know this guy. Who the fuck is this guy? He's third Doctor, man.
It feels WoW has like become such an ignorable parody of itself. Like, people can just play WoW without paying attention to the story, but the story itself doesn't really it doesn't go out of its way to like catch you up. It's not like, hey, remember last time in like,
it's incomprehensible.
Like,
and it has the usual MMO problem where like the entire first half of the story can't be played anymore because they deleted it from existence. Because Cataclysm unmade the original WoW, and now you just can't experience that story anymore unless you once again go back to classic and experience it in real time, like not instead of all at once. Like you have to like invest years of your time into filling in the back catalog of what happened before Cataclysm.
And I guess because it doesn't do that, if you jump in at the new expansion, you kind of just like turn your brain off. And the moment you turn your brain off, you fucked yourself, because now you're never going to know what the hell's going on in like 20 expansions. And
it's like that
to some
strange
people, that's
choice
okay,
that like the strange choice that Final Fantasy 14 made to make the fucking original Final Fantasy 14 that failed canon. So it constantly refers to a game you can't play. And it's like, shut the fuck up. I don't know what you're talking about. No one knows what you're talking about. Some guy probably made a fucking career out of being the YouTube like Final Fantasy 14 OG ambassador that just like explains the plot of the original game to you like Vati Vidya, so you can tell what the fuck people are talking about in the reboot sequel, whatever the fuck the current 14 is, which is like Cataclysm essentially, but way faster.
I'll never know what the story of World of Warcraft is, because the requirement, the investment needed to figure it out is just beyond what I could ever give a shit about. But it's also just, it's baffling that this is the best that this company can come up with. And this is the only, besides Final Fantasy 14, like this is like the main MMO. Like this is the big guy. This is the biggest around, and somehow
I don't think things are going well for them right now, because
they're not. It's going terribly.
Any video from any like MMO YouTuber lately in my trending or whatever the fuck, it's always like, wow, this Asmongold or Jesse Cox or whoever the fuck is giving up WoW for Final Fantasy 14, like across the board. It's like,
like it seems like everyone's jumping ship, and there's probably a good reason for it, is because how much longer do you have? This is the Bleach problem. How much longer do you have to invest of your life into this fucking story that isn't going anywhere and no one seems to give a shit about, before you just either give up or wait until like the sweet release of death? Like
it's funny because it makes us look like trend chasers, when it really was just a whim of like, hey, do you want to play Final Fantasy 14 or Satisfactory next? And then
we already beat the expansion. We beat the expansion of WoW, and it's like, well, I guess we don't know what else to do. Is you just gotta wait for raids, or you gotta like play a different MMO because there ain't fucking anything else to do.
We just screwed around and played WoW for a bit, and then we hit level cap, and we were like, I don't know, what should we play next? I don't know. You have a Final Fantasy account, right? What's that game like? And we just on a whim we started playing it, and then now it's like the big wave is everyone playing that. But it was not. That was not the motivation. I had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah. It jumps at you when you don't expect it.
Yeah.
But you have to be fishing for it.
We're over time at this point. It's probably about time to cut it. We're probably going in circles
over real
a
time,
bit.
and not over our usual 3 hour that is already over time.
Oh yeah, we're supposed to be stopping at like 2 hours usually. But most importantly, my food's already here, so fuck y'all.
Food time.
Goodbye, Andrew. Go walk your dog.
That's the best part.
Never.
It's a confusing command. That's a confusing statement without context. But it's because the time buffer between the podcast and Final Fantasy is Andrew walking his dog in between, and then Final Fantasy starts.
Pretty much.
See you all next time.
All right.
Bye.
Send in questions. I meant to get to them, but then we had a continuous chain of topics for the entire episode, as it usually goes. I really got to just open with a question if I want one.
Yeah.
And then we can have our chain of topics as it usually goes.
Yay.